Yeah.
Anyway, so I think I saw a lot or most or not all of it.
So it was interesting because before he got on, and we're already recording, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe about 5 seconds ago. I told him before he got on because he was like real passionate about wanting to be on there with me, and I was like, okay, you got to understand. First off, I don't study politics like you.
He wanted specifically to because he was gonna dive into that.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't know enough about stuff like that. Now there are some there are some certain ways that I feel about how America's involvement in other countries. I'm aware of a lot of those things. And what I was getting to was because of something I had asked him was I said, but none of these socialist countries work. None of them. And he's like, well, has America always been involved in interfering with socialist countries?
Has it what now?
Has America always gotten involved in interfering with socialist countries, putting policies in place, sanctions in place, all these things? And I can't find one where America has not interfered with putting sanctions in place. And when you put sanctions in place, that makes the economy of the country far weaker. It cripples the economy. It cripples the country. Any country that is sanctioned by the U.S. and is not like a powerful country, it's going to be crippled.
So it's almost like.
So how can you really know if it's going to work?
Yeah.
If it's got all this on its back.
Regulations.
That's right. Mm-hmm. All that stuff. And so I'm like, well, that's a good point. But still, so I don't. Anyway, so I told him. So anyway, before he got on, I said, so that much I can agree with. Okay, U.S. interferes with a lot of countries like that. I can totally agree with that. So maybe it is difficult to tell whether it would be successful or not. One thing I did tell him though was that you got to understand if you're going to be on the podcast, I can't protect you with what people are going to say. You're not my yeah. You're not my son on the podcast necessarily, and especially when you get out there.
Sure.
I can't be like, don't say that about my son or what. I can't do that because I'm gonna be fighting people all day long about every guest. And when does it stop?
I mean, you're also understanding that too, because you got to understand that.
And most importantly, people's opinions, they don't matter.
No, people can make them matter, but they really don't.
Yeah, they really don't. So he was like, that's fine. I said, so when I put stuff out there, you might want to be careful with reading comments or whatever, unless you just don't care. So, so yeah, he was fine with it. He wants to get back on to do after the inauguration, Trump inauguration. But I'm gonna have two Trumpsters on here for the inauguration.
Coming up?
Yeah. And no, probably right after, immediately after.
Okay.
Just because they're hilarious and entertaining. Because they go above and beyond, so it's
talking
like
about a real I don't know what they call them, I guess.
Okay, so
Trump
Luciano's gonna be on for that one.
Okay.
I don't know if you heard his stuff about Trump, but he wants Trump to be king. Okay.
Is there substance to that, or is he just kind of?
I don't know.
It's
entertainment. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I don't know if it's for real or not, but I was trying to grill him about it, and he comes across as for real. I'll tell you that much.
So he feels convinced that he would want that, maybe.
Yeah, and have a dynasty of Trumpsters. Yeah, the sons and the sons and the.
Easy to say for right now, right?
Yeah, sure. And then I have another friend who's a super Trumpster, and in my opinion, all he does, hopefully he doesn't hear this, but all he does is kind of repeat whatever Trump says, just kind of. So I feel like I'm talking to Trump, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, so I don't know. That'll be entertaining for me at least,
sure.
You know what I'm saying? And if it's entertaining for me, I'm sure it'll be entertaining for others,
Yeah, it's good. I mean, conversation.
Yeah. So anyway, but so I was telling Caleb, if you're gonna get on here, I can't protect you. It's gonna be whatever it is. And he was like, okay, that's fine. But he said he wants to get back on, talk a little bit about, I don't know, whatever else has happened since the election with Trump making his moves and all that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, that's fine. I mean, I'm not looking into those things like he is. I know he's looking into those things.
He's preparing.
Yeah.
Sounds like,
Yeah. So it's cool.
Cool,
but yeah, he wants to be back on, so it's fine. It's fine.
That's cool.
But
a thinker. I mean, you gotta have thinkers.
Super thinker, man. Mm-hmm. Super thinker.
He's always been like that, though.
Yeah, so. He has. But But anyway, he's at least now able to share his views, publicly in some way. So, which is interesting.
Was he one that voted, or did he kind of?
He voted.
Okay.
Oh,
okay.
he voted. Yeah, the moment he could, he voted. Yeah,
Oh, cool.
Absolutely. And then
was
he
this
was
his first time voting.
Let me see here. I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay. All right.
No, it wasn't. But he was doing some pretty cool stuff. I'll say that. He was prior to the election, he was talking to people about politics and stuff like that. Like he would go door knocking. Yeah.
Wow.
That's how passionate he was about it.
Wow.
Yeah. It's interesting to see that.
Did you have him door knock you? Did you do that kind of? Did you
No.
I would have.
No.
But that's me.
But he did tell me, well, because he's involved in this group, this political organization.
Okay.
And I ain't trying to like helicopter on top of him, be the helicopter parent and all that stuff.
Genuinely though.
Well, it was funny because one thing he was saying was that he had the most signups more than anyone else.
It's a very persuasive.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you the number one factor, he's sold on what he's talking about, and people feel it.
Well, he's also been asking me questions on how do you talk to people about this, that, and the other and stuff like that. And so I've talked to a lot of people about, so it's like I got a lot of insight on that. And so, anyway, he had the most signups, and then he would also go to universities and talk to the students there about their views and this, that, and the other political views. And so, yeah, he had the most signups. And it's like, wow.
How long has he been, I guess, a part of that?
Honestly, not very long. Maybe prior to the election, maybe 4 or 5 months. Okay. That's it, I think. Yeah.
How do you connect with them? To like a school?
I'm not sure. Oh, okay. I'm not sure.
4 or 5 months. Okay.
Yeah. I'm not sure. But it's real interesting. And then he just came back from Cuba, too. He was there for 8 days.
8 days.
Yeah.
It was like a kind of an exploration trip, or?
It was more of a volunteer thing.
Oh.
With that group.
Part of that? Oh, yep. Okay.
Yep.
Huh. All right.
He was telling us because of the sanctions, they can't get certain cancer medications in Cuba. Mm-hmm. So they were there distributing those medications,
Yeah, I mean, so
he was there for like 8 days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow, got to see some firsthand, I
guess.
Yeah. If you think about it, though, America sanctions itself, too. They do it within, there's things that they do and regulation big time. I mean, we can call them what we want.
They can afford
sanctions. It. Oh, yeah.
I mean, if it's self-imposed,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but they do it all the time within the system or whatever.
Now, why do you think they do that?
Control, probably money, power.
Manipulate the cost of things?
I mean, I feel like
this is Rick, by the way. Rick Martinez, my cousin. Welcome to the podcast. First time.
Yeah, thank you for having me, bro.
Yeah, sure thing.
Appreciate you. Yeah, I feel like doing like a little bit of research over the maybe 6 years or so, just a little bit, like getting more interested. I felt like when people used to ask me in the past anything about politics, I would normally say something like, I don't really get involved with politics too much. I really just don't. That was the truth of it. Is the matter. Obviously, every 4 years, whatnot, election year or whatnot, you're to some extent you're involved. You're watching it. You're looking at it. So I remember I was young as being a teenager, seeing it on MTV. Vote, get out and vote, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Before I could vote, So, but really started looking into things and hearing stuff, and then probably you take it just as late as 4 years ago, maybe, and all the polarizing stuff you see that's just like really in your face. It's almost like, I mean, if they're letting us see this and playing us like this,
in plain
can
sight?
You imagine what they're not letting us see and what we don't know? Can you imagine?
Yeah.
So it's just like, I mean, and really both sides, both aisles, all of them,
Yeah.
So they're all friends, they all been friends, they all got relations, that kind of thing.
Go to each other's weddings and things like that.
all that kind of stuff. So you always hear about that and see that kind of stuff. And then sometimes people forget about those things, whenever it comes down to, years ago. And sometimes I guess the younger generation don't even know, Mm-hmm. They didn't know that, they were friends or they donated to that party at once or whatnot,
Yeah.
So once you start finding out these things, then you start hearing about, big pharma and then the food industry and then the cycles. And I'm just like, it's just it just makes you really think, you know.
It's orchestrated.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
It's just too much, you know. And the more and more I dig into it, it's like, man, no, it's just polarizing. So.
It can get frustrating the more you dig into it, you know.
Yeah, it can.
You know, it can
can
get
if
kind
you
of
care, yeah.
hopeless, like. Ugh. And I think that's the rabbit hole that Killer went down. He like was digging and digging and digging and digging, and then he was like, "Wait a minute, the red and the blue are the same. They're maybe about 2% different.
Pretty much.
That's about it."
And that's typically where the vote ends up. Typically.
Yeah.
This was just whatever they called it, a red wave. It really was. It was
Yeah.
it was America saying almost what they said back when the first time he got elected. F you to the government. We're done with you guys.
Yeah.
You tell us all the time, all the time. We've heard it long enough. The lie is just repetitive. What are they going to play on now? What are they going to run on now? And I think Trump was even though people wanted the brashness, they wanted the humanitarian part of like he's human. I can relate to that. I get mad too sometimes, you know. Sometimes I can make a mistake, whatever. But you also see some of the good stuff he did. So I don't think it was all bad. So, and I feel if we see everything that's all good, we're not seeing everything.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So
That's a good point. Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that's what it kind of was, like it's kind of a stand up. And I think after all these last 4 years, I think people felt the same. Like, no, you all are pushing more stuff down us that we're not trying to go that direction. You're not the left party that my grandpa was a part of. It's a different party. It's not the same Democratic Party, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
So it's completely different. So when you look side by side, there's things that they're doing now they would freak about back then.
Yeah.
It's like they're not even blinking an eye at that now, you know? Just little things, and then, you know, so and again, I feel like they're one and the same. So it's almost like, you know. So but again, Trump not being a politician, coming in, doing what he did. I don't know. It's almost like, you know, you look back to the track record, you know.
Yeah.
He was already there. He did fine, you know, that kind of thing.
I mean, he wasn't Hitler, you know?
Yeah, I mean, apparently everybody's okay with him now being in the office. He's not Hitler anymore, I guess.
I mean, that's amazing how this wave happens and all that stuff just disappears, you know? We didn't mean it kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was all just bullshit.
Pretty much.
You know?
Pretty much, yeah.
And, yeah, that's crazy. Especially now that Trump won, you see the hypocrisy in the Biden administration, how they're doing all these pardonings and all these other things that they accuse Trump of being. And it's just like, wow, this guy don't even care no more. You know, Biden don't even care no more. He's on his way out. What do I got to lose?
Yeah, he's, literally on his way out, probably. How many years does he have, really?
Yeah.
And, poor guy, if you think about it, like, if that was my grandpa, I wouldn't want him up there like that.
Yeah.
If you really think about the humanity, they're so concerned about humanity, you know. You're putting an elder up there who apparently can't function.
Yeah, no doubt.
Scary. And really, aside from that, it's like, wait a minute, look how our country looks now. Look at how it reflects on how our country looks. Weak. Not strong, or, I don't know. It's just many thoughts, kind of.
Yeah, it's funny because who was it? A report came out last week, and I kind of freaked out about this. I wasn't. I'm just gonna say some things. So they were talking about, the report was talking about, who was it? The Wall Street Journal, I think. There's been a cover up of Joe Biden's health since he was vice president, apparently. Yeah, that came out. And they had hired, for this last term, they had hired a vocal coach early in his term. Early. I think maybe even prior. But they've hired a vocal coach for him. And they've been putting others into roles meant for him. So he couldn't even fulfill his own roles. They were putting others in place. That's what this, and Wall Street Journal is a very, it's not some right-wing thing,
Not at all.
And what else? They were canceling critical national security meetings on Joe's bad days.
National security meeting.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's really, what else? Avoiding calls with other politicians. And let me see here. He even had a hard time repeating lines that they were feeding him in preparation for interviews.
I can see that.
And that's completely like, these things. I mean, after watching the debate it's not hard to see any of these things, but the fact is that it was a cover up, and now it's coming out.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's true.
it was like that's what you call like kind of a deep state thing. You know what I'm
Big
saying?
time. Big time.
It's like, wow.
And honestly, when I watched that, I was feeling bad for him. I was like feeling like he was my grandpa. Like, oh man, like,
I was laughing,
that's
but I was
brutal.
like,
Oh,
that's sad.
I was laughing, but like I was also like, that's bad.
Yeah.
Like, I'm feeling bad for that guy.
Yeah.
He's literally not making it because he can't.
Yeah.
He can't make it through it.
Yeah.
Because he can't do it physically.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, this is crazy. And Trump was just like, it wasn't even his best debate, really. But it was so easy. It was just an underhand crush, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you know how quick he is. He's quick to the draw. So, whatever Biden chokes up on, he's just,
He's there to
you're
serve
right.
it.
You do. What was that line about what did he say? Something about Medicaid, or we saved Medicare. There's some line he said, I can't recall at the moment. And he says, "You sure did. You ruined it," or something like that. You had some work on it. I can't remember his quote, but Joe kind of gave him an underhand, pitch.
Yeah.
And Trump hit it.
Yeah, it was oh man, it was a mess.
So
It was a mess.
can you imagine what the party was feeling like during, like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? They're probably scrambling. Even CNN that night. I specifically went to CNN. I wanted to see what they were gonna say.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, and they were like, it was bad. They were like, they need to do something about this. And I was like, wow.
For them
I
to
couldn't
say
believe,
that?
yeah, I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow. And a couple of them were trying to, like, well, he did struggle, but
Let me ask you this, because I never really asked you about politics and about the government and the news. Do you think there's a lot of a lot of propaganda?
Sure, I do.
Yeah.
I would say more so now than I would have said 15 years ago.
Okay.
And probably more so now, even 6 to 8 years ago. Double.
Oh wow.
Thoughts, yeah.
Wow.
Just so many things, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. So
You watch the Tyson fight?
I did.
What'd you think? Okay, prior to okay, you want what?
So you probably saw it. I felt like nobody had good reception or good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. Prior to watching it, who'd you think was gonna win?
I felt like Jake Paul was gonna win, but I wanted Mike to win.
Okay.
But I also felt it was money thing. Like it was.
Kind of a sham.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
See how much money they made.
A lot of money.
Yeah,
Man.
they're making more money doing that than regular boxing.
Then real boxing?
Yeah, that's why McGregor. That's why McGregor. Did you see McGregor just signed up
No.
to fight Jake Paul?
Really?
I just heard it a couple days ago, maybe a day or two ago.
I thought that was fake.
I mean,
Wow.
so
Who knows nowadays,
I
right?
guess we got to confirm. But I saw that and I thought to myself,
Fact check that.
please. And I thought to myself, you know what? He said McGregor's going to hold off from the UFC at the moment, his comeback,
I mean, he should, because he shouldn't even come back.
right?
He shouldn't even come back.
And he was sustaining a lot of injury.
Doing
probably.
coke and everything. And, I mean, he's living it up.
Is that what he's doing right now? I haven't been following him. So.
Yeah.
How long has he been out of it? Not his last fight.
Last fight, oh my God. When he broke his leg, which was with Dustin Poirier, however you say his
Okay.
name,
Poirier.
at least 2 years ago.
Okay, I think I remember that fight.
Yeah. It ended fast.
I remember.
Rogan was on the floor with.
That's right.
He was on the
That's
floor
right.
with
Now that
McGregor.
you say that, yeah.
That famous meme,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean,
He's rich beyond rich. Why?
Doesn't need
You know
to,
what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, it's more of a money thing anyway. But if you think about it, Tyson, what did they say he made? 20, 30 mil or something
I
like
think
that?
about 20,
Just to- yeah.
at least 20.
And that guy at this stage of his career, if he can go and do that,
That's true. Yeah.
he's winning.
What'd you think about the fight?
Um,
Whatever you saw, because I know it was lagging.
It was a little lagging, but I saw a decent portion amount of it. And
Did you think Tyson was holding back?
I felt he had a chance to get a couple off, and he didn't.
Yeah.
And I thought, I thought to myself, did he do it? He didn't. Did he not do it because maybe I had the bad angle? Maybe he didn't have the reach for it. And I thought, no, I don't know. Or did he just really hold off? Why wouldn't he take the shot? Is it supposed to go longer? You know, that kind of thing. Would it be? Because imagine, what if it did end in the first round? It would be like they made a big old spectacle, and then it's 2 minutes in, and then what? It's over. 3 minutes.
Yeah, there were times where he could have swung right, and
I felt like it. I felt like it.
There were some times I noticed, and I was like, why? He could have hit him right then and there.
But I kind of saw that both ways too.
Sure.
I felt like Jake could have.
And I saw the press conference afterwards, and Jake had even said, "Well, yeah, I didn't want to knock him out because people were gonna imagine the hate I get." He's like, "Yeah, I was holding back a little." I'm like, oh, they were both holding back.
Money. I mean,
So I'd rather see a knockout than paying all that money to sit somewhere in that big ass dome. Because imagine all the trouble you have to go to just to go to that fight.
my buddy was there.
And then they're just both holding back. You know?
Yeah.
What would you rather see? Like them actually fighting?
Yeah.
Or them holding back? You know what I'm saying?
Legitimate.
Yeah, sure. And it's like,
It's entertainment. It's almost like wrestling. And I don't want to disrespect wrestling. I used to not give it a lot of credit. Obviously, you got to be athletic. There's some work behind it and skill. But at the end of the day, it's scripted. It's written, but it's still a sport. So I'm going to give it's a sport. You know.
yeah.
You're physical. You can get hurt. We've seen that now. That we hear the interviews now. But you know, I think it would almost kind of reminded me a little bit of that because I don't know.
It looked like that.
Yeah, right.
It looked like that, yeah. So that was,
Especially the whole rollout for Jake Paul and the
I didn't see that actually.
diamond studded whatever car came out.
I didn't see none of that.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty outlandish, but
Me and Zach, my youngest son, we were trying to. He's 9 right now. He was like, "I'm going for Tyson." I'm like, "How do you know who Tyson is?" You know, like what the heck? But they know so much things now, especially if you put them on YouTube. You know, and he's like, "Yeah, I want to see him knock him out." And so it was lagging the whole time. And he's like, "Man, what's going on? What's going on?" He even said, "How come he just doesn't punch him? Just punch him. Just punch him." And it's like, man, you got a 9-year-old saying this who hasn't even seen Mike Tyson fight. You know, it's like, come on, like, good grief.
Yeah. And I did see Tyson. I felt like he got injured or something. There was like a
there was a delay, like a 2-month delay,
right?
Yeah, 2-month delay or something like
I
that.
felt like it. Yeah. So anyway, I don't know, but I mean, at the end of the day, they made their money, and they're gonna do it again. I mean, if that's true, Jake's gonna fight somebody.
They're gonna do it again.
Well, I'm talking about Jake with somebody.
Fighting
I was really kind of assuming McGregor, but Jake's gonna fight somebody, whoever it is. They're gonna fight somebody again.
Yeah.
They're gonna find somebody to fight him. They're gonna make a lot of money.
They were saying he's gonna fight.
On.
They're gonna fight. He's gonna fight Muhammad Ali. He's gonna try to get older and older.
Oh,
the dead.
Yeah. He's just risen. Where's he at?
It's like, well, this guy's only going after grandpas.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's kind of crazy because it was like, he was saying it was his idol. Mike Tyson was my idol, or this.
That I mean, the come up that he's had is pretty amazing. I'll say that much.
I didn't even know who the guy was. I don't pay attention to all that stuff. But just the last couple of years, I'm like, who is this guy? Like, how is he?
He's making noise. He's making
everywhere.
Noise. Yeah.
And I'm like, what? And then like to see how I guess he started from Vine. Is that right? He had like a Vine
or YouTube, something like that. Yeah.
Like that, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, wow. It's just nowadays the accessibility to people is not like ever before. So
yeah, it's wild. It is a different world.
It's good and bad, I guess. So.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. I told my kids YouTube is today's MTV. MTV would be like
on steroids too, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's a different animal.
Big time.
But that's like what everybody's watching. Back in the day, everybody was watching MTV, and the culture would be influenced by MTV.
Yeah.
And so that's what YouTube is now. It's influencing the culture. The society. The generation.
Because you see current, past stuff.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yep.
Now.
Yep.
Pretty wild.
Absolutely. What do you think about the drones? What's going on with the drones?
I mean, so I was.
Do you think it's aliens?
No.
No.
I think it's us.
Okay.
I think it's America. Because I don't know if you think about it. And I heard somebody say this. Where was it? I thought it was recent. I don't think I was reading it. I think it was on a podcast. Could have been Joe Rogan actually. Maybe somebody else. I don't remember. But I felt like So something like this happened before. What happened with remember that Chinese balloon that came over?
Oh yeah.
They blasted that thing out of the sky, right? It took them longer than we wanted.
I don't remember if they
It did.
blast. They
They
did. They
did.
blasted it.
It took them
Okay.
some time, I think, longer than what we wanted. But typically,
They were
when
just
some,
watching it, huh?
I don't know. I don't know. And who knows if it was China? It could have been.
Okay. Somebody brought up a good point to me. Okay. So they said a Chinese balloon. Think about that. There's all this technology, but they're gonna send a balloon over.
That's true. It's a
You
good
know what I'm
point.
saying?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
really?
we don't know what kind of balloon it was, though. I mean, exactly. All this stuff gets shoved under the rug.
Yeah.
We don't hear anything about anything anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, where like we the people at kind of coming from? Like the people that try to bring this stuff to the surface. Like it's gonna come out 20 years when nobody cares at that point. Like, well, we knew it. You just finally said it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So, but I feel like it's us. If any other drone came from any other where that they thought it was not us, knew that it wasn't us, that thing's getting shot down.
Yeah. No
Think
doubt.
about it.
No doubt.
Think about
Especially
it.
over a military base.
Exactly.
Something like
when
that.
I fly my little drone, so mine I got a small enough to where it said I don't need a license. I don't need to register it or whatever. But it'll tell you, where if you're around fly zones, you can't go this high and whatever. It kind of give you like little meters.
Okay.
So I'm thinking, there's no way. There's no. If mine went up there around the airport, they're taking that thing down. Think about it,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking it's probably us,
I wonder why they're doing that though.
I know why, right?
Yeah.
What would be the reason? What would they do? But why do they do a lot of things?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Is it the distraction? Is it
And that's
to
what
get
I
us
think
talking about
is.
it like
That's
we
what
are?
I think it is. Yeah. Yeah, because now they're coming out with all these alien reports as well, with all the UFO stuff, the UAPs, and all this stuff. And I'm like, and I was talking to Alfred about it. I don't know if you saw any of that podcast or
I think
not.
I saw some skits and stuff.
He's a super UFO believer,
I think I
says he
feel
saw a
like,
UFO in his backyard down yonder, whatever, and but now there was a cover up. Obviously, there's no UAPs or UFOs. There's none of that. There's none of that. Now they're coming out with all these reports, and I was like, but can you trust the government? Like, is it really UFOs or is this just another distraction? And it's like, I mean, if the government is the government, I'm inclined to believe that it's just a distraction.
right, right,
It's like the Wizard of Oz kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
exactly. Smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, and so it's like
I feel that's what it is.
the drone thing as
I
well.
think you have a good point.
Yeah.
Think about it. I mean, they want us talking about it, but why?
Yeah.
Does it ever make sense? Do we ever get an answer from it?
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
usually answers questions that are unanswered typically.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Then it just kind of gets forgotten about because there's something new. Oh, it's the inauguration. Now it's what happened to the drones?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like a lot of things happen like that. Like what about all the
Assassination
attempted
attempts.
assassinations?
That is true.
Like I'm like I know some things have come out and some things have been released, but why not everything?
Mm-hmm.
And like I feel like there's questions out there, and can you imagine if that was on the other side of the tables are totally flipped, and it was a celebrity person, if you will, on the Democratic side. It was totally flipped.
Yeah.
And the Republicans were the one going haywire. Whatever. That side was kind of like, hey, you're going a little far. That's not what we're used to anymore. And those assassinations happen, attempts. I feel like, man, I don't know.
They'd be talking about it.
Oh man, all
talking
day
about
would
it.
be investigating. They'd be trying to. I don't know.
No rest.
None. It'd be all over. It'd be like blood in the water for a shark, and then they'd have ratings, that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. It's hard to believe. It's surreal. It's the only word I can think about. And we're like, we the people, we see it. We, can we do about it really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's smoke and mirrors.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because I haven't heard anything since. I haven't heard any. Have you heard anything? Have they said anything?
Just that somebody I don't know if it was a general or a sergeant or whoever it was, somebody way up there did this press conference saying, we don't know what it is, but there's no need to worry. Come on. Sounds like you know what it is then. If you're not worried.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, who's going to say that? We don't know what it is, but we're not worried. There's no need to panic, kind of a thing.
So they, like you just said,
Yeah.
you know what it is.
Yeah. You just don't want to tell us, or you just don't
Or
want
it's
to.
y'all, or it's us.
Yeah.
And that's why you're not worried, because you're in control of it.
And that's what I think it is. I personally think, yeah, it's us. And they for whatever reason they're doing some experiments or some exercises, maybe to see how America responds, maybe to get America used to things like that.
Maybe.
Whatever it is, because if America can get used to drones in the air all the time, then they can get used to always being watched or whatever it is, whatever it is.
That's a good point.
And so, you can't throw the frog in boiling water because then it wants to jump out. Mm-hmm. But if
It's
you
gotta be slow.
yeah, then it doesn't know what it's in, and then it's too late.
It's true.
So I think it's more along something like that, more along those lines.
And kind of to that point, I feel like if the Democratic Party would have been smarter about it and gone that approach slower, they try to go way too fast, too much, too fast, shove all kinds of stuff down people's throats. I feel like if they would have gone slower, I'm glad they didn't, they could have won.
Oh yeah,
I felt like maybe people wouldn't have been that pushed. Oh, they're not trying to teach my kid this, or they're not pushing this on over. Why are they trying to do that to the kids? I'd hear from parents everywhere.
Okay, what are you talking about?
Like schooling stuff, all the CRT programs, all the gender stuff, all the
okay. What is CRT?
Critical race theory.
Okay.
So all that stuff they're and I would, you hear about it on the news, right? And you're like, okay, but when I'm at homes every day talking to people from all over the country that are moving to a place, and they're telling me those things, it's like, oh,
And you're not even there for that.
no, it's in conversation.
Yeah.
Because I'm building rapport, I'm building relationships and all that. So
Sure.
I talk to people, and all the time I get into why they moved, where they moved, what brought them down, yada yada, and a lot of times that stuff comes up. I'm like, oh, that's real in there, huh? They're like, oh yeah, they're trying to teach my kid this and that, trying to make them make decisions if they're feel like a girl that they should be one or something like that. Later they're teaching those things, and I'm like, that's just wild. Why is that okay?
Especially if they're minors, they're not even old enough to drink.
Smoke, get a tattoo,
vote.
you vote.
I mean, but they can make these life-changing decisions,
That changes their life forever.
Yeah.
Get a permit. You can't even get a permit till what? You're 15.
Yeah.
Driving
So,
permit. It's just
I'm
wild. It
like-
didn't make sense. It didn't make sense.
like, if the kid can't even wipe his ass right, how the hell can he decide to switch
who
up his
they are.
gender or whatever? Yeah.
A high school kid doesn't even know what they want to do. How many times have what do you want to do, kid? Mm-hmm. I can remember now thinking back when they asked me, I had no clue. I had no clue what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Nobody does. Nobody really does. I mean, it's very rare. One may go in a direction that takes them a path, but you really don't. That's why a lot of fields get changed.
Yeah.
That's why people go to college and they don't even end up using that degree.
Yeah.
All the time. I talk to people all the time about that too. All the time. So, things change. Perspectives change. Minds change. Dynamics change. The world changes.
Culture changes. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true. So,
absolutely. Wow.
but,
Pretty-
so yeah, the drone, I don't know. But I kind of have a fear of what you said, that like they're trying to make us used to seeing these things and people get comfortable and it's just that's
Well,
what-
because Amazon is supposed to also do a drone droppage thing, right? Where
I did
they
hear about
start
that, yeah.
delivering things. So, in one sense or another, you got to get used. We got to get used to that. Now, if we can get used to having our freaking toilet paper rushed over to us because we can't go to the grocery store 3 minutes away, 10 minutes away, but we'd rather have a drone kind of.
drop it to us.
Yeah, then we're not gonna have a problem with all these other drones that aren't accounted
That's a good
for.
point. That's a good point, because that's already coming. So
That definitely is coming at least
Oh,
through
yeah.
Amazon. So yeah, absolutely.
that's wild.
Yep. That is
The world, right? We live in.
I mean,
You're getting old when you say that, right? I guess you start seeing. I feel like I've seen a lot of things, and I'm like, I never thought I would see this in my lifetime, and it's happening.
well, the world has changed a lot in the last since like the internet, and then social media, just technology, AI. It's like rapidly changing. So. I mean, prior to that, not the Earth, but the world was still kind of. I still haven't flat. If you're listening to this and you're a flat earther, and we put a
He's
plug.
looking for you.
Yeah, it's all right. I am. I want to talk to you. Okay, I want to talk to you. Hit me up, DM something.
We don't judge and we're not mad at you.
Nah, not at all.
We want to hear you.
Absolutely. I don't agree with you, but whatever. That's besides the point.
Right.
Yeah, prior to the internet, things were moving slower, but ever since then, it's like things are just golly.
And now you
crazy.
have that internet right here in your hand.
Yeah.
And it's faster than ever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah, my kids were like, back in the olden days. I'm like, oh my God.
1900s.
You lived during the 1900s, didn't you? I'm like, here we go with the piled on insults.
They do pull that out.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, they
Man,
pile
I'm
on
with you,
those
I guess.
insults, man.
If I were them, think about it. You're probably pulling that out.
Oh, absolutely.
Thinking about it.
But I don't like it on me,
we
you
don't
know?
like it. No.
But they're like, could you get on the internet easy? I'm like, no. Do people have computers like in every whatever? No. They're like, wow. What did y'all do then?
There's this thing called outside.
Yeah.
No, and there's this thing called dial-up too, by the way. Son,
Dial-up.
daughter. I remember hearing that telephone thing go, that tone, and then that ring dial. Do you remember that?
AOL? Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. Absolutely.
So, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, one of my
Things have
ex-girlfriend's father was abused that thing, put it lightly.
Okay.
He was on there too much,
All right.
and we always knew it.
Yeah.
By the sounds he was making.
Oh, yeah. A good old AOL.
Yep.
Fast connection.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, geez.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway. So what else is going on, man?
Oh, man, I'm just kind of trying to enjoy. Actually, I feel like this year's been kind of the most challenging years for me, so I'm kind of trying to, I guess, recoup. From
Okay,
it.
in what way?
Yeah.
What way?
I mean, I had a daughter about a year ago.
Which is your third child?
Yeah, so third
Okay.
child.
All right, so far, is it different than raising sons?
Yeah, it is. I don't even think I've felt the whole thing yet. I don't even think it's really hit me yet.
Nah.
Sometimes I'm like, I can't believe we have a girl or our kid.
You're still saying that, huh?
Heck yeah, we said it the other day. We were like, I can't. Sometimes we don't like. It feels real, and we know she's real, but it's like I can't believe it. Like we have another baby, so it still kind of feels like that.
Unplanned, I guess.
Yeah, because Sochi,
I know too well.
Sochi was like done,
Okay.
And I actually wanted somewhere like, hey, if we were younger and it was earlier, and we would happen, and then,
Now, did she have a healthy pregnancy?
yeah.
Okay, that's good.
So healthy by most, stretches.
Sure.
She ended up having like gestational diabetes.
Oh,
which she
okay.
had with the first David, not with Dylan.
Uh-huh.
So sometimes she would just have to check her blood or whatever it was.
Okay.
So anyway, after that happened, I had that whole ER visit. I think I probably told you about that. So I had an ER visit, and messed me all up, dude. I felt like, so I had like they say I had a seizure because nobody was there. Kids were home. So what happened is this happened the day after my daughter was born. Went home
The day
after because I was up all day.
Man.
So
Yeah.
I think I put it together: sleep deprivation, stress, had some stress at work, long year, busy year, and excitement, exhilaration. I'm like exciting when she was born, all that kind of stuff. And then went home, slept. My sister-in-law, Krista, she came down. Shout out to Krista. Thank you so much. Anyhow, she came down and was there with us. Went to the hospital. Kind of we swapped off. Came home with the boys. Slept about 6 hours that night. Then I woke up and then I didn't feel right. I felt like I was tired, but I also felt like just off, a little off. And I think I hit the deck, and then I got up because I woke up on there. That's why I woke up on the floor, and I was like, "What the heck happened?" Got up. David was like concerned. "What's going on, Dad? You okay?" And I was thinking, I didn't know what was going on. I felt like a movie. I was like, if I was lethargic, I was like, "What the heck happened?" And I just didn't know what happened, dude. I straight up didn't know what happened. And then I called Sochi because I was like supposed to go pick them up, right?
Yeah.
So I called her and she's like, "Oh, you don't sound right." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't really feel right. I think something happened." So she's like, "You should stay there." Called my neighbor. They live a few houses down. He's a firefighter, so he comes over like fast, and he's knocking on our back door. He just comes in. It's open, right? And I think he kind of helped save my life because he says, I kind of tell him what I think happened. I was like, "I don't know. I don't feel good. I think I fell down. I hit my head maybe." And he called the ambulance. Told me we took the kids. They said I had another one on the ambulance because the only thing I remember is waking up in the ambulance or in the hospital. All I remember them putting those little, whatever on top of me, and
The ones that shock you, or just the ones that kind of read like
no, I think it
where
was
you're
to
at?
read the vitals, maybe.
Okay.
I guess.
Okay.
So it was just crazy, and then after I think I got let go literally like within 24 hours,
Oh.
and I wanted to get out of there. Like I was just like I just wanted to get out, and I think they ran some tests on me enough to let me go, right? And then I had to set an appointment with neurologist and all that. But anyway, rough start to the year just because I had all that going on, and I didn't feel myself. They had me on this medication, and I just didn't feel myself. And I actually recently got it switched.
Oh, you're still on it. You're still on some medication.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, not the same one.
Yeah,
They
sure,
switched
but
me. Yeah, trust me, I didn't want to be on it, so I took all these tests, 72-hour tests, and they're like, well, you didn't have a seizure through this time, but we do see some activity, and we just want to keep you on it at least for some time, monitor you. So I'm like, great, So anyhow, she's like, the doctor's like, but just live your life, I said, oh, I am. I'm going to live my life. I'm not going to. It's just a bummer that I have to be on,
Yeah.
It's been out of my life for years, because I had a history with it. Those that don't know, I kind of grew up. Probably, I don't know what created them or started them, but probably started around having some around 4 years old, and probably was on medicine for about 3 years, something like that. And I grew out of them, I guess. And
so it's genetic then, huh?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. So it could come. So when I was talking to a neurologist, they said, of course, I was asking all these questions. Could this be a one-off? I used to have a history of them, but I've been without them for 35 plus years. Like I don't even remember I had them anymore.
How often would you have them when you were a kid?
I don't even remember.
Okay.
I don't even remember. Rare though. I remember seeing Ryan have them. My sister. I remember seeing her have them because she had, yeah. So I think it maybe stemmed from a car accident we were in. And then we got shook around or whatever and kind of maybe concussed. I don't know.
That bad of an accident?
Yeah, that kind of thing. That's what the doctor thinks. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
So,
okay.
I don't know, though. That's what I feel that I last remember in my history or whatever. So anyhow, I felt like I was on the medication, but it was kind of good. Didn't really have much. And that's probably why they took me off. So, and I had a normal life. Like I didn't, played sports, all that stuff. So, and so they were out of my life forever. So when that happened, I thought, oh my gosh, like so many questions, of course. I'm like, why, what happened? All that kind of good stuff. But the hard part was kind of trying to come back mentally from it. Cause I was feeling slower. I wasn't as
Is that
sharp.
because of the medication?
Yeah.
Okay.
Both.
Okay.
So initially it was because of both.
Okay.
My body was adjusting to the medication, and I kind of felt like I almost had a concussion, even though they said I didn't.
Okay.
Like I just felt like,
Did you, when you had the seizure, were you in bed? Were you standing?
No, the last thing I remember is putting my sock on. I was leaning up against the bed, putting my sock on. That's the last thing I remember.
Where did you land? Like,
so the bed's right here,
Uh-huh.
and then I landed basically this way on the floor. I was laying this way.
okay.
So I was
Okay.
upright, and then like that way.
Okay.
So
So you took a hard hit to the floor.
apparently.
Yeah.
So I had like a soft spot on my head for like a couple months.
Oh,
Yeah. Every time I would take a shower, I'm like, I feel like a tender spot. And I'm like, man, that's where I fell.
Wow.
So I was careful. I had a tough year because I didn't. So I messed up my sleeping patterns, my workout regimen. So my eating regimen, because it's just messed
Even
everything.
eating, huh?
Yeah, because now you have to take stuff. I'd have a certain time. I would normally eat. I would normally fast till 12. It was a normal thing.
Okay.
I just get up, But now I'm having to eat earlier, and it just
Is that because of the medication?
yeah.
Okay.
I didn't want to take some of the medication
Okay.
or whatever.
Okay.
So I didn't feel nauseous or whatever. It didn't make me sharp. It made me slower. When I would take it, it made me like I had to concentrate extra harder, So I have to work double extra just to kind of get back to where I was. Try anyway. So it was tough, man. So this year was probably the hardest year I went through, challenging wise, physically, mentally, probably emotionally too, man.
Wow.
Yeah, it was tough. So, but I mean, you just gotta keep going.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna do it.
Yeah.
But I did have kind of like a breakdown, if you will. I think back in October recently, I remember I'm like, this medicine it was having worse effects on me. And I was like, I was having perspectives that I knew wasn't real. I'm like, that's probably not real. I think that's the medicine. And then I had I would wake up almost with little depressions. Like I'd wake up some days and and I didn't have an excitement to get the day started. It would last only like 10, 15 minutes, but it was there, and it wasn't normal for me. And I'm like, that's not normal. Like, I don't. That's not me. I don't feel like me. So
But things
little.
going bad or not?
No,
Oh, okay.
no. That's
So
the
it was
thing.
just out of the blue
That's
kind
the
of thing.
thing.
Yeah.
Like not bad. Just life is heavy again. So went through that. Had a new kid. Work still busy as heck. So just busy with everything.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
too much busy is not good all the time. So you got to break. So I think it was multiple things. I think it was like not just one thing, but just kind of a piling up things and then the combustion almost.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I need to take a break. Like I need to just connect and not do nothing. So anyway, threw off my patterns, took some time off. Didn't really do anything, but like wake up to get sleep. I got sleep. It was important to get sleep. Got back to a normal workout regimen, which helped me get my sleeping patterns back actually.
Okay.
So that was medicine in itself, honestly. So in the beginning, I wasn't working out because I was scared of what could I do? What couldn't I do? Was I going to overexert myself? And I didn't find a neurologist to, believe it or not, months after that accident.
Dang.
It was hard. It was crazy.
Wow.
One wouldn't contact me. I tried to get another office. It was just wild. And I was just like, what's... And honestly, I wasn't excited to go see one, so I wasn't trying to hunt one down.
Okay.
I was just like, I feel fine. But I really didn't,
Yeah.
So anyway, I really needed to connect with the one to get tests to really see if they're going to keep me on it, what they thought about it, what's going on or whatever. So anyway, but when they switched me on the medication, because I told them, hey, I'm not feeling well. I'm feeling extra stress. I feel like things are busy. Is the best way I can describe it. He's like, yeah, we don't, that's not good. That could be some side effects of that medicine. We don't really want that. We're going to switch you to this. And so the new one they put me on and they transitioned me, kind of overlapped them. I feel like my memory's sharper. My sleeping patterns are better.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so it's been better, man. So praise God for that. But I'm like, oh, thank goodness, because that just wasn't working for me. And it's weird because throughout the year, it started off okay. No, not good. Body kind of adjusted to it a little bit. And then it just kind of other effects came that weren't there in the first part of the year. Could have been a combo, though. Stress could have triggered it. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
My sleeping patterns, not working out. So, it could have been multiple things. So,
Yeah, not working out could change your mood. For
big
sure.
time.
Yeah.
I normally like to do it in the mornings and start my day and, get it going. You just feel better, And obviously at this stage, I'm like, in my life, I'm like, you want to be around. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, I feel like this year was super challenging, but I mean, man, like from the beginning of the year till now, I'm like, I feel better. So
That's
I'm
great.
glad, yeah. So,
That's great.
but other than that, family keeps you busy. So,
Yeah.
So,
It sure does.
yeah.
Absolutely. So you said you'd be willing to talk a little bit about business, right?
Yeah.
What's something that you would... I'm not sure how to ask a question. What's something you could offer value-wise as far as business is concerned to somebody that might be listening or,
So if it's a general question, I mean, without getting specific, if somebody didn't have a specific,
Hold up.
it's
Okay.
all good.
Yeah.
Okay, so question is, I guess a piece of advice for somebody.
Sure.
General business
Sure.
question. So I would say this might be common, or somebody may have heard this because it's really true. I would say that typically in business, it costs about triple what you think it's going to cost something to start it up, and takes about double as long as you think it's going to take to work.
Okay.
So I think the problem is, and I've kind of like seen it actually through people, and probably done it once or twice with something that I didn't have a passion for, but I did it and tried it. Is that when something doesn't stick or somebody's not having success and catching momentum, they're quick to quit, throw in the towel, or they think it should cost less or come quicker.
Okay.
So
That's going to be most people's expectations.
Oh yeah,
It should come
I think
quicker.
it's common.
Yeah.
When people don't, we live in a microwave society.
Yeah.
Everybody wants it fast.
Yeah.
All the kids pop in Hot Pockets. They don't want a crock pot roast, you know, kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm speaking from experience because I remember, like, man, and who doesn't want fast results? Who doesn't want to go
That's
to the
true.
gym and see muscles in a week?
Yeah, that's
Right?
true. Yeah.
Who doesn't want to go to work and see a bonus at the end of the year? Right? I mean, we all want it fast.
The end of the month.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Who
Yeah.
doesn't? I mean,
Yeah.
it's I think it's like doing the hard stuff because sometimes the hard stuff doesn't pay off till later. Like sometimes it's kind of the whole, planting the seed and watering it, and sometimes, man, that thing takes forever to grow. But you planted the seed, right, and you're still watering it. As long as you're still watering it in that field or whatever. And the hard work will always flourish. And sometimes the hard work will pay off in another way that you didn't even realize it did, or it was going to pay off,
Some unexpected way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all the time. It's all the time. And I guess the other biggest thing I would say is, and it's almost like a biblical thing, treat people as you want to be treated. Whenever I'm doing business with anybody, I feel like you got to be genuine, sincere, and really want to solve the problem. I don't really care about selling them. I'm going to sell no matter what. But really what I want to be concerned about is how can I help them solve the problem? And I sometimes I'll tell people tell them when I'm engaging with them is because there's still like people still kind of have a view of salespeople that
Sure, yeah,
they're sly,
absolutely.
they're fox, they're gonna get me, pull one over me or whatever.
Trying to trick me.
Yeah,
kind of thing,
big
yeah.
time. There's a lot because there's a lot of people out there like that.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll mention to people when I'm working with them is, I really just concerned about helping, solving your problem. If I can help you, my sales are going to take care of themselves, whether it's with you or the next person. And I'm really dead serious. Sometimes if it gets to that particular conversation and somebody's maybe thinking that way, I'm certainly not trying to make them feel that way. I want to make them feel comfortable, and I think I do a good job of it. But I want to let them know that I'm sincere. If I'm not for you, I'm okay with it. You can tell me no, and I'm out of here.
Yeah.
I'll shake your hand. I'll smile. I'm just going to try to help you. And if I can't help you, I'm okay with it. But if I can, great. Because really, that's all people want you to do. Help them. If you're in business long enough, and the real successful people that that are even local, like mom and pop successful to like mid to high or whatever. Not typically most of those people, they just help solve problems and are sincere. And it costs money to do that. Sometimes they spend money. And like I said, people don't think it's going to cost that much to be that successful or get to that level. But things aren't free, so I think those are the two biggest things. So I feel like I've done little things here and there, whether it's super small, or things that I've seen like scale, like, oh, this is working, and this has helped me from what I did back then, or this helped me prime me for this, or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's, I guess, in a nutshell, kind of a long-winded answer, but those things are important. So. Because it's easy to get discouraged too.
So I remember when so Rick's from San Antonio and he moved to where'd you move to?
Charleston, South Carolina.
For a business opportunity, it's fair to say?
Yeah.
Okay. And he was new to that business, right?
Super neat. Never done it.
Okay. And I remember you telling me about 6 months ago or whenever it was that because he was new to it and because you weren't picking up success, right? That you were thinking about closing up shop, coming back, right? What made you stick with it? Because I think that's what a lot of people might be missing. That like you said, the microwave society. What made you stick with it? What was it?
So,
When you were not having the success you were hoping to have, and when you were thinking about just coming back and things like that. Like what was it?
I feel like so I was probably there maybe 6 months. No, by about 4 to 6 months. And we weren't seeing the results where I wanted to be.
Were you seeing any results?
Some. And to
Okay.
be fair, because this is the reality, I was taking on a whole nother section of the company, brand new.
Oh, okay.
We decided to add another tool to the tool belt, if you will.
Yeah.
Another offering.
Yeah.
And I was to head it up.
Okay.
And that's a hard thing. Hindsight, that is difficult to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Super difficult to do. And it's one of the thing that I got was a very difficult thing to sell. You got to learn a lot about it. And it taught me though so much.
Yeah.
And it primed me for what I do now.
Okay.
Actually.
Okay.
That's kind of what I was saying. So I wasn't having success, and you know this, but the viewers may not. It was kind of a family oriented thing. You know, we have a cousin that lives there.
Family business.
Yeah,
Kind of.
family business. So I'm very kind of a prideful guy in a lot of ways. So I would not want to be the type to stay there because I'm family, and we're gonna make it work for him, even though he sucks.
So you don't want no
Hand
no
me outs.
pity. Okay, no handouts.
No.
Okay.
I'm going back home.
Okay.
I'm going back home.
Oh, okay.
That's why I thought that.
Oh,
That's why I
okay.
was doing that. That's why I thought, you know what? This is not. I'm not good at this. I guess. Let me see. Let me go home.
Yeah.
You know. I don't know.
Yeah.
So it was pretty. I was feeling like that. So I came home. I told Sochi, my wife. I told her how I felt, and then I said, "Hey, this thing is hard."
I like that. This thing is hard.
I don't know if I'm good at this. Maybe I'm not good at this. Like this is a different animal. I've been in sales, but this is a different kind of sales, and I don't know. Maybe I'm just not good at it. Maybe I was feeling sorry for myself too. I don't know. Part of it, right? Part of me was probably feeling like I wanted her to say it's okay. Let's go, right? Probably.
Sure.
Honestly, I was.
That's why you're telling her.
Part of me was.
Yeah.
And I said, so I don't know. I think I'm doing everything I can. I'm working hard. I'm doing this, and I just don't know. And she's like, well, and I said, what do you think? And she says, well, as long as we're together, I'm okay. I said, fuck. In my heart, dude, I'm not gonna lie to you. When a woman tells you that, I'm like, dang.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Yeah. And I was like, I said, game on.
It don't get any deeper
No,
than that.
I said game on. Support then.
Yeah.
That's the simple answer. Support for my wife. So she was like, long we're together, I'm okay. In other words, if you fail, we're failing together. Yeah, I mean, so in a nutshell, I feel like support is the biggest thing. And come from a wife. I think any husband wants to see that or he feel that and hear it, I guess. So when she said that, I was like, game on. We're go time. I'm going.
You can't fail, right?
No. Exactly.
Yeah.
So when I did that, it's funny because Michael, he was like, the owner, he's like, hey, how are you looking this month? And I told him where I was at. 50,000 for the month in sales or something at that time. And I thought that was good, right? And it's not terrible, but still, And he said, okay. He's like, yeah, let's go ride together and, da-da-da-da. Okay, so we wrote some appointments.
That was how many months after?
So this was the following year. So this was 2018. So 2017, I kind of went there and worked July and on.
Okay.
And it was a kind of a bust and learning. And I remember brand new field, totally don't know shit about nothing, right? And so 2018 rolls around. This is the third month. March rolls around. And this is when he gives me that call and asks me. I tell him, he's okay, let's ride. We're going to ride around some appointments. Sounds good. So we were riding around. And I just had to watch him, dude. That's what it took for me. When I watched him, it was like had to be a fly on the wall, basically. The whole thing is when you're going in there and watching somebody train. It's what I do now, actually. When you're going in there and watching somebody perform, you're a fly on the wall. You don't say a word, and it's hard. It's harder than it sounds. Actually, you want to talk because people are sometimes talking to you. So you just nod, and it's hard, right? So I'm in there and I watch them.
Gotta let them fall on their face, so that's what's gonna happen,
No, I'm supposed to watch him.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is that you just gotta. Like, if there's something that you can say that would be smoother or
No.
better.
I mean, like, he's the professional showing me.
Oh,
and I'm
okay,
watching
gotcha.
him in
Okay,
this scenario.
gotcha. Okay.
There is that scenario.
Gotcha.
But that's what's happened in this scenario.
Okay,
He's like,
okay.
we're riding around. You're going to watch me.
Okay, gotcha.
I said, perfect. So I'm the fly on the wall watching him. So we're there. I watch him. We probably ride around on 5 to 8 appointments on the week, maybe. Something like that, 3-4 days. And right after that, I started going on my own. But after I watched him, I thought something clicked. I was like, oh, man. He's just Michael inside of the home. He's himself, And I thought
He's not a salesman.
no,
He's
yes,
himself.
yes. And I was like, I think I'm trying too hard. I think I'm maybe trying too hard. I'm too artificial, maybe. And I would go to every sales guy there. I was the 5th one at that time, and I was the youngest one. And there's old dogs in here, right? So I'm asking them every single one of them. I'll ask them questions. That's how I learned. Really, in my life, I ask anybody anything. You might remember. I probably asked you a lot of questions throughout our time. So I asked them, hey, what are you doing? What can I do better? How are you getting sales? Da da da. I want to pick their brain, dude. Because in reality, we're not competition. We have our own people, right? We're not on the same car lot walking out trying to get that person.
Oh, okay.
It's nothing like that. Nothing like that. So I'm asking for inside advice, right? One of the simplest things that the oldest guy gave me, the grumpiest guy that ever worked for us that I met there, sales guy, he said, Rick, you just got to be yourself. And I said,
That's too simple.
yeah. And he goes, you just go in there and you be yourself. And I was like, and hang around with so and so and learn this and that and get informative and da da da. But be yourself. I thought, huh, okay, all right. And he's like, you know what? And I really wouldn't be talking to you. The only reason why we're talking, we're at a home show. I was gonna go swap him out. Right? I'm showing up. He's leaving. I'm walking out. I show up a little early, ask him some questions. Only reason why we're talking is because we got the same company shirt on. If you're one of these guys, I wouldn't be talking to you. He was that kind of guy,
Oh,
grumpy,
wow.
old
Okay.
school, yeah, old dog. Okay, cool guy though. Like the crazy story is when I first got there, I ended up going to pray for the guy. He was having like a septuple heart bypass surgery, and I ended up going with Michael, and he was visiting him because they were doing some exchanges, whatever. So I asked him, I was like, I couldn't, that feeling, dude. I was like, man, I need to pray for him. God's not gonna let me. I just got to, right? It was one of those things. I can't leave, right? I said, hey, Randy, you mind if I pray for you? He's like, no, no. So I pray for him, and that's the softest I ever seen him. He was like, thanks, Rick. Da da da. And I think from that point, I think he developed a level of respect for me.
Oh,
So you
okay.
never know what's gonna happen, right?
Yeah.
The little things you do, the little steps
Yeah.
of faith. Even
Yeah.
though I was scared, I didn't want to go. I didn't even know this guy, right? I known him from just met him. Like I just met him. I knew Randy, and 5 months later, I'm praying for him, right, on this hospital bed. He might even make it, right? Who knows, right? So you just never know, right, what positions you're in. So anyway, asking questions, learning. But the point of it is, when I watched Michael, I learned. I thought, man, he is just himself. He's just himself in there. I think I got to loosen up and just be me. So I was like, is it that easy? And then I just little by little, I was like, let me just try it, And then we have a system. There's a system we got to follow, right? Presentation kind of thing. So once I got very fluent with that and comfortable with it, you got to get comfortable. And I'm myself, and I began to learn things because I asked a bunch of questions to everybody. I got good. I got real good, right? And I thought, man, this is pretty fun. Like, this is the funniest thing I've ever done. Now that I know what I'm doing, right?
Yeah.
I'm not scared anymore, right? And there's still a level of, because at the end of the day, when I got there, I'm 100% commission, right? If I don't sell, I don't eat, right? So and when people hear that, they're like, oh man, especially a lot of people that are not in sales and never been in sales, they think that, and I get it. It's a normal thing. But really, sales is kind of like the sky's the limit kind of thing, really, And there's only like 2% of people that are in sales and that kind of thing that have really good success. But really, the good ones typically make it. There are some shysters out there, and they do make money. But the good ones always, they want to help people, usually make it. So, I think you just stay persistent, have support. It's like you were talking about the other day. We were talking the other day. And you were mentioning you getting support from community helps is encouraging. And that's with anything. When you're working out, all right? When you're going to the gym, you have a gym buddy, accountability partner. Eating right, sometimes you need that because sometimes we can get ourselves out of check. Anything, my attitude, my wife needs to keep me in check. Oh, you're loud with the boys or whatever. Anything, dude, sales, learning stuff. So I think it's never ending. I think we should always be learning stuff. You hear from, you probably hear from a lot of people out there that, if you're green, you're always growing. So always be green, always be growing, always be wanting to learn kind of stuff.
Okay.
So I've always been like that and always wanted to learn. I've always asked questions and never want to feel like I've known it all because I don't, and I feel like, I think the other thing is consistency. You have to be consistent. Even if it's like, we can look at it from a gym perspective. Hey, I typically work out 5 days a week. Dang, how do you do that? And this guy works out, 7 days a week. I'm just consistent with what I do. He might work out 7 days a week, but he's not as consistent in what he does. I'm consistent with what I do, so I see better results. Mm-hmm. And over the long term, the consistency will get you there. It doesn't have to be 100% every time. Some people, and I've been like this before, some people are like all or nothing. If I can't have it all, and sometimes I'm still like that. If I can't have it all or do it all or follow it all the way I want to, I'm quitting. I'm out. I'm done. And the reality is, it's little by little, chunk by chunk, because we improve as we go.
Yeah.
We learn as we go, right?
Yeah.
So I've learned that too, and it's still a struggle. Sometimes, again, I'm still like that. There's times where I'm like 100% or nothing, or I want it all or nothing. I could be like that, I think all of us can be with some things, but I think it hinders our growth,
Mm-hmm.
I think that. So consistency, support, community, and sticking with it. And knowing that it's going to take twice as long, cost twice as much, typically.
And be yourself.
Yeah, be yourself. Want to help people, be genuine. I think we've probably all gone through phases where we maybe when we're growing and experiencing life growing up that, we're maybe we don't know who we are. We don't know exactly who we are.
Well, not only that, but you're hitting on something really good right there. Is that sometimes people reject you for being yourself. And that's probably the majority of why we try not to be ourselves.
Get into a clique or something.
Yeah.
A crowd or whatever.
Because we felt rejection from somewhere for something just by being ourselves. And we're like, maybe being ourselves is a bad thing, you know? So yeah, you're absolutely right about that as far as being kids and experiencing something like that, you know, along those lines. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And then you got to ask, who am I? You know, did you have to ask that when he said be yourself, or not really? You just didn't have to overthink things.
No, I just didn't overthink things because I know how to be myself. I'm naturally extroverted. I can naturally talk to people, and it wasn't always like that, I guess.
Were you extroverted as a teenager?
I wasn't introverted.
Okay.
I wasn't introverted,
Okay.
but I wasn't.
But you weren't trying to be the loudest.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Now I'm kind of like that. I have to kind of hold like. I have to kind of like, if I'm not careful when I'm talking with people, I won't let them get a word in.
Oh,
or I might talk over them or too much.
Oh, okay.
So I got to reel back a little bit.
Okay.
And that's usually when I'm working with people, like, you know, with what I do, you know.
Yeah.
And really one of the rules is to let them talk more most of the time, because you're really trying to gather what they want. They don't want to really hear you talk, only when they want to hear you talk, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had to train myself. I'm still training myself because sometimes I still slip up and I'm like, I'm talking too much. I need to dial back. I need to listen to them, you know. And I do that at home, you know. So I talk too much at home. But Sochi's a good listener, so I think she's a great listener all the way around.
Yeah.
Anybody, she'll listen to anybody, but it's delivering that magical word that may not always come to her, kind of thing, right? That's not.
Yeah.
Everybody doesn't have different strengths, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's one of those things, and but her unwavering, I guess, gift to just listen is like, wow, you know. So
What's been the biggest struggle with learning how to not interrupt?
Control.
Yeah.
Because I think I want to feel like I'm in control.
Oh, okay.
And I can still be in control is the thing. Because I am usually. They may not know that, but it's the science. And it's my job to be in control. Because if I let them control it, we're not going to end up in the right place.
Okay.
That's how it happens. So it's in my best interest to control it, but also listen to them and get them in where they're really wanting to be, you know, instead of off. Because they don't do it every day. I do it every day. You know, I help design things for people outdoors. So they might see something on Pinterest, which is usually the worst thing because it gives them the most expensive ideas and things that are out of their budget.
Yeah.
And I'll make a joke about it depending on who it is. But sometimes you don't. Sometimes you're at a house and you're like, they could probably do this, you know. Let's grow with it, you know. So it depends. But you don't want to be judgmental with people. You don't want to. It's easy. I've been there. I gave an example one day recently about I was in Tampa in a training, and I told, like, I was basically testifying to about myself, that being genuine with people, right? And I said, people know that when you're not genuine. People can feel that kind of stuff. Like, can't y'all feel it? You know, I can feel it. Like, I remember when I was young, 18 years old, and I was selling cellular phones, and used to have to run a credit check on people, right? Well, I was running a credit check on a guy, and he came up, and I was very judgmental. I didn't think he was gonna. I was like, this guy's not gonna approve. Like, there's no way. So the way I was talking to him and presenting to him, the promotion was bad. It was not good. It was disrespectful. I was a young guy too. I was 18, whatever, 21. So I got on the phone, put his information in, and it said, he's approved for 10 phones. And that's what you want to hear. That's like the highest of highs there, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he can leave with 10 phones right now if he wants to, 10 different lines.
You're hoping he does, right?
Yeah. And I'm thinking, man. And my face lit up like a Christmas tree. Da-da-da-da. Sir, we can get you going today. Da-da-da. You don't have to pay anything. Just a whatever, $10, whatever deposit. Activation fee. Okay, great, whatever. Got him signed up. So when he left, the owner of that company, he pulled me to the side. He's like, hey, Rick, that wasn't right what you did. I was like, what do you mean? And I was a little bit blind. I was ignorant. I didn't know exactly what I did, right? And he's like, the way you treated that person. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, when
so you weren't thinking it.
No, not really.
Wow.
I did it. I didn't. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't
you
intentional. Yes.
actually said things.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I said, I didn't. He goes, the way you presented to him was like you were unqualifying him, and then when he qualified, you were in a different mode. You got excited.
In a different mood, I
Yeah,
guess.
you all of a sudden gave him respect.
Now you're my friend.
Yes.
Wow.
And he called me out. And
Yeah.
from that moment, I try to never, I always remember that moment. And I to never do it again. To never do that again. Always treat people like, don't judge them like that. You know, they're a person. And you never know. Like they say, never judge a book by its cover. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to do, right? Because we all make assessments, right?
Yeah.
We're going to make an assessment with that person walking down the street when I have my daughter in my hand and somebody's coming in dark clothes. I'm going to be a little extra careful. I'm making an assessment. I'm judgmental. That's what that is. But we're making an assessment. So we all make assessments. But
we want quick labels.
Yeah. But in that scenario, in that setting, and in general settings, I've learned to not be like that. And try. It's hard sometimes, right? Mm-hmm. You got to give people the benefit of the doubt. You don't know somebody's story, right? Yeah. Everybody has a story. Everybody has one, right?
Sure.
Multiple layers, too, most times. So, and it's something you learn over time. Again, that one thing I learned, though, right then, when he told me, I was like, I can't. I didn't even realize it. And part of me never realized it. And then he also pointed out to me that it was just ungenuine. It was not, it was not right. So, and I didn't feel it at that time. I guess I didn't have a regard for it maybe at that time.
Yeah, most likely.
So I didn't really feel it, and so he called me out on it. But I'm glad he did. So I never forgot it. That's why we're talking about it now. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know if there's anything else you want to mention during the pod. Anything else you want to talk about?
I don't know. We covered a good amount.
Good amount.
I think so. Unless you got something on your mind, I'm always game. But
no, I think I'm. Let me ask you this: you believe in aliens?
So I feel like
that's not a simple yes or no.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like
that's probably a no.
A large part of me would always probably tend to disagree and say no.
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if the government was hiding something from us, though. So I kind of say that. Mm-hmm. I'm not really like intrigued and going to sites and researching. Okay. I'm not in that kind.
You're not putting any energy into it.
I got way too many other things. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would not be surprised.
But if there is, there is, and if there's not, then
I'd be interesting to know about studies and what is it and what's going on, and maybe a little bit of freaked out. Part of me would be a little bit freaked out, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, well, what is it? Where is it from? What kind of being is it? Who knows, right? I mean, what do you think about that?
I don't think there's aliens.
No.
If there are, I don't think they've interacted with Earth.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe more so that.
So maybe anything that's...
if they existed, I don't think there'd be a big enough cover-up. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like, I don't think you can cover that up enough. Because why would aliens be subject to the government's authority? Like, come on. They're coming from another place.
True.
This is not their government.
Right.
Why would they care about what the government thinks?
Right.
For one thing.
Come when they want, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, to ants, we're aliens. We don't care what they think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And not only that, on top of that, for the most part, the concept of aliens has always been something human-like or animal-like. There hasn't been nothing really alien-like.
That's true.
Alien is a foreign concept.
That's true.
So if they actually did exist, I would think that it would be such a foreign concept from anything we've seen on Earth. And so far, I haven't seen that. Mm-hmm. A big-headed person. Come on, really? That's not very creative. Big eyes. Wow. That's not very creative. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Gray skin or whatever. Yeah. Wow. That's not very creative.
That's true.
So that's not very far from thinking that it's a humanoid, or something like that. So, that's just my perspective. Now, I have heard, well, there can't be aliens because it's not biblical or whatever. Or it's not mentioned in the Bible. What's your take on that?
So, do you know for sure it doesn't say anything like that?
I have not seen anything
aliens,
like that.
Right?
That's
the word aliens.
That's right.
Doesn't it talk
I've seen angels.
Yeah. Doesn't it talk about large reptiles or something like that?
Yeah, but that could be referring to dinosaurs.
That's what I was thinking.
I mean...
Would you... So I guess that's more of an earthly thing. We would look at that. It's not a...
I mean...
From outer space.
If there's fossils on Earth about
from here, I
dinosaurs,
guess, right?
and they call those, what do they call, the word for dinosaur translates a large dragon or reptile, or I don't remember
Mm,
exactly what it is. That would be my interpretation of what they're talking about.
mm-hmm,
You know, a
mm-hmm.
dinosaur-like creature.
Yeah.
You know,
So it's funny you bring that up. Maybe this is going off a different subject, but
that's fine though.
I feel like because you brought up this is
I
again
did
going
bring it
off a
up.
different subject.
Yeah,
I'm kind of curious what you think about because we have history of a
sure.
lot of people don't know that
You
church
want to tell
stuff.
them so that way.
Well, yeah, so Bill and I obviously are cousins, but we have a history of being involved with the church and you know leadership and things of that nature, serving. So there's some history a little bit behind it. So I'm a little bit curious nowadays because I've been in South Carolina about 8 years, and
That
so I'm
long,
sure
huh?
yeah it's about to be
Wow.
8 years in June.
Wow.
I think June. So time flies, right? It
Yeah.
was supposed to be a 2 year plan. So so anyhow, so I'm curious actually of where Bill stands in a lot of things and areas, and maybe some of this we'll get to, some of it won't. But I'm curious what you think about because I've been seeing a lot of things come out. By the way, the church we attended at the time was was an organization, the UPC. Was that safe to
Yeah,
say?
you didn't have to say that, but yeah.
Well, it's okay. I mean, we're out here. It's all right. I don't have anything bad to say about them
I do
right
a
now.
lot.
Right now,
But I'm not going to.
it's okay. So, but I'm curious though because I have been seeing a lot of stuff lately come out of that sector
Really?
that hasn't been as
I didn't know that.
positive as lately.
Now that I didn't know.
Yeah,
I
and
don't
I'm
keep up with them at
curious,
all.
and I was just curious because I'm not really affiliated like that anymore. And the church that I go to now, I've met people that gone to Pentecostal
Sure,
church and
I'm
all that kind of
sure.
that kind of thing.
I'm sure.
So but I've
What
heard.
things have you heard? Because I'm not familiar.
I
I don't
feel
keep in touch with that
I
world at
feel
all.
like I've seen a lot of people, and I don't know if it's maybe it's not across the board, maybe just in certain churches
Mm-hmm.
versus across the organization. Because I've met great people in that. Met great people in the church, so there's
Sure.
no doubt about it for sure. A lot of great people. But I feel like there's been a lot of people that either have moved away from that, maybe biblical principles or whatever their teachings, I guess. A lot of people that I used to know, maybe that we used to go to church with, or even people that I don't know that I heard of, whether it's people I've met now that are in the church that I go to now. So I was just curious, like I don't know, and I guess you said you haven't heard much about it, but I mean, what are your, I guess, stances if you haven't heard anything yet? I guess now versus
Why are
what
people
we used to study.
leaving?
Well, I guess whether it's people leaving, and if you haven't heard of that, fine.
I
But
mean, I'm not surprised.
yeah,
That doesn't surprise me.
yeah,
So I used to be very involved in the church. I used to talk to a lot of people that didn't go to church. I was the guy that would bring a lot of people to church, right?
yeah,
Oh,
for
I
sure.
mean, all the time.
Anybody and everybody,
Anybody and
no
everybody.
discrimination, just like Jesus.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And so I have a lot of experience with talking to people that are not familiar with the church world, growing up in church, whatever it is. I also have a lot of experience with discipling people that would start coming to church, right? You can attest to
Yeah,
that.
sure.
And discipleship has got to be one of the most underserved areas in the church, in my opinion. You know, Jesus said, make disciples of all nations. You don't find a lot of that. You find a lot of preaching and finger pointing of all nations and people. You find a lot of that, but not a lot of discipleship. And so I was on a mission to, if I was going to help somebody come into the church, then I was going to help them also. I was going to also disciple as well. So I took that very personal. And so I've had many conversations while I was involved in the church like that of why people would eventually leave. Many conversations, and they would all say the same thing. And after a while, unknown, I wasn't even thinking of what they were saying, to be honest with you. But after a while, I said the same thing, and I didn't even make that connection till years later that I said the same thing as they were saying. And the thing that they would always say is, "I never feel good enough. I never feel good enough." And if you're in a relationship to where you never feel good enough, what's going to keep you around? You see what I'm saying?
It's almost like abuse.
Cause exactly.
Yeah.
Because you're always feeling like a failure, like you're just worthless, like you're don't matter what you do, it's not enough. And I didn't understand that till I felt that way. And for me to feel that way, I felt like I was in a lot of ways, and this is a lot of self-righteousness, no doubt about that. But that's a product of that kind of religion. You either feel self-righteous or condemned. There's very few people that feel in the middle. Right?
Yeah.
You coming from that
I'd say
background
so,
as
yeah.
well. And so, in the New Testament, it talks about Paul saying that he was a Pharisee of the Pharisee. That's how I felt in that organization, because I fasted a lot, I prayed a lot, I went on extensive fastings, I saw some amazing spiritual things. So I feel like I was a Pharisee of the Pharisee in that organization. Yet I felt that way, like I'm not good enough. To me, that was like there's a contradiction in that. It's either God or my theology, my understanding of Scripture, what I've been taught about Scripture. Years later, I connected that feeling to what all these other people were feeling that I was discipling who had left the church. I never feel good enough. And so it does, after a while, it does feel like abuse. It feels like manipulation. It feels like control. It doesn't feel like God either. Because because God doesn't draw you. You're not drawn to God by not feeling good enough. You're drawn to God by feeling accepted and loved, not by not feeling good enough. There's no way God would do that. And so I'm not surprised that people are leaving that organization. I'm not surprised at all.
Right.
I'm not. I'm
Almost like matter of time, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, because they could say love, but you don't. A lot of times you don't feel love by the messages. Not only that, one thing I've noticed is that grace is missing from that church enormously. They could say the word grace, but the concept of grace and the expression of grace, those are different things than what they're expressing.
It's almost like a different definition.
It's
of what they have for it.
it's a different Jesus.
Wow.
And this is why anytime I hear somebody talking about Jesus, and even today, if somebody talks to Jesus, to me, that's kind of when somebody talks to Jesus the way we used to believe about Jesus, to me, that's a bastardization of the gospel. So I take it personally offensive.
So explain that when you say
okay, so imagine if somebody was talking about somebody you knew and loved, but they were talking about it like a way that isn't true. And you knew this person very well. You loved them. You spent a lot of time with them. But they were like twisting the perception of this person. Wouldn't you take offense to that?
Oh, yeah.
And you might even say, wait a minute, you're twisting things about this person.
Because I know them.
That's right. You're spreading rumors and lies about them, and you're making them seem like this person, but they're not that person at all. That's how I feel anytime talks about Jesus in this hard manner type way. Like he's very judgmental. He's very unaccepting. It's very my way or this way. To me, that's a bastardization of Jesus in the gospel.
I get what you're saying.
So for myself, I take something like that very personal because I've come to understand and know Scripture and Jesus in a very profound way that you can find in the Bible, and that it doesn't contradict itself. Because prior, my belief, when I said I was a Pharisee of the Pharisee, there were things that I was feeling that was contradicting Scripture. There's no condemnation in Christ, yet I was always feeling condemned. And nobody would say, well, you shouldn't feel condemned. They're like, well, what are you doing wrong? Well, when you feel like you're a Pharisee, the only thing you're doing wrong is maybe not praying long enough. That's about it. Because I wasn't like cheating on my wife at the time. I wasn't like doing all these whatever things, you know. I was actually living that life.
Yeah, yeah.
And so for me to still feel condemned, that doesn't make sense. And so I said it's either what I've been taught, or I mean, what else can it be? Or the Bible's contradicting itself. There's nothing else. And so when I went on a pursuit and on a search for trying to understand, my first pursuit or my first attempt, and it was the right attempt in my belief, was maybe it's what I understand about Scripture. So when I started to re-understand Scripture, which is an extremely difficult thing to do, I come to understand my old understanding was flawed. What I've been taught was flawed. Because in this new understanding, I didn't feel condemned. I actually felt closer to Christ. I actually felt like I had to have more faith. Prior to that, I didn't have to have as much faith because I was relying on myself. Now with this new understanding, I had to have more faith. I had to put more faith in God. And I think that's what God wants. He wants you to put more faith in Him. You know, because in the Gospels, the only times that Jesus was amazed by the people that He was ministering to were those whom had faith. And He says He was in awe by their faith. He saw their faith. The faith is what got His attention.
Wow.
Not the works they were doing, not the things that they were doing right or wrong, whatever. None of that stuff. It's the faith that got His attention. And so that kind of anchored me back to even going back further to Abraham. And Abraham didn't have a Bible, but yet he had a relationship with God. And it's a very simple relationship, but it was still a relationship. God said move, and He moved. That's it. And that requires faith,
Yeah.
especially if you're going to an unknown place, doing unknown things, around unknown people. That's faith right there.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if you're living a life of comfort, you know. And for you to go to South Carolina, that was faith right there.
Yeah, it was
You
hard
know? But you know, you see different things throughout the Bible of where it really is a thing of faith. And my way to I guess to describe faith a little bit more would be to just be convinced. Convinced. Because faith can be kind of mystical, but you know what being convinced is. We all know what convinced is.
Yep.
I'm persuaded that this is going to happen or that it's going to work out or whatever it might be, you know. We can all understand that. Faith is a little more mystical, but the way I break down faith is if you have faith and you are convinced, otherwise you're lacking faith. You're having a hard time but trusting or believing.
True.
And we all go through that.
Sure.
But if I strip out all the mysticism from it, that's what faith is. It's being convinced that it's going to happen or that it's going to work out or that things are going to come through. So I don't know if that answered your question or not.
I mean, it does, and I feel like, I mean, it was a good elaboration on it. I feel like a lot of, I mean, I guess my second up to that, because I was thinking this while you were talking, is that why do you think it got built that way? Do you think it's just a power thing? Because certain religions been
What do you
around
mean
for
how
some
the
time,
how
like
the
that organization, the way they were going to handle their, you know,
religious
teachings and their beliefs,
biblical
and all that.
views?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the, you know, like because it's not as new as some other religions, so.
Well, the twisting of scripture is biblical. It's in the Bible.
Yeah.
In the book of Acts, they already had issues with that. They already had issues with certain segments, certain churches trying to incorporate legalism, which is what it's called. That's legalism.
Yeah.
Trying to incorporate going by a bunch of rules and all these things to be saved. They were trying to mix the Old and the New Testament. And in the Gospels, Jesus said, you don't mix You don't pour new wine into old wineskins.
Mm-hmm.
He also says you don't repair a torn piece of cloth, an old piece of cloth, with a new piece of cloth. It's got to be old and old, or new and new. And he's referring to the Old and New Testament in both sections, or both parables, or whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he's referring to. He's like, you can't mix them, because if you mix them, you're talking about a time prior to Christ, and now you're talking about a time including
It's like
Christ.
water and oil almost.
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
mean, yeah.
And it even talks about it in the book of Hebrews. That's what all Hebrews is about. The book of Hebrews is all about the Hebrews who are familiar with the Hebrew scripture and the Hebrew religious lifestyle, legalism and all that. They were trying to incorporate Jesus into that. That was the issue. And the writer of Hebrews was telling, I think it was Paul, but even if it wasn't, the writer was telling them, if you're trying to bring back the old system of belief, then you are rejecting the work of Christ. Because now you're saying he didn't do enough to save me. I have to do the work to save me. So you are rejecting what Christ has done. So that's why I look at certain teachings as a bastardization. Now you can see why. Because now they're corrupting the cross. Now they're making the cross weak. Now they're making the work of Christ weak. You know, and I take that personal because of the way I've understood it, you know?
And it's weird because you would almost hear it. I felt like it was almost like you would hear it two-sided almost. They would use it. Like, you know,
Because they don't understand it, that's why.
almost like you don't have to do this and that because he did all that for you. But you got to have these requirements and keep them, or, you know.
Yeah,
I don't know. There was a lot of contradictory almost stuff.
absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah, it could be a little confusing. So
And I brought that up one time to somebody who was teaching Romans. Yeah, it had to be Romans. Yep, it was. He didn't understand it because all he said was, well, you still got to do these things. And I'm like, well, then that contradicts what you're saying, what the Bible is actually saying. Not even what you're saying, what the Bible is saying. How do you explain that? Well, you know, there still has to be, you know, this, that, and the other. He was just sounding religious again. Sound biblical, not religious, you know? And he was too busy holding on to his religion. And I think that's the flaw in a lot of these religious teachers, is that maybe they care too much about what people think to really care about what God thinks and what the Bible says. And I remember when I started my relationship with God in a church or biblical manner, because I had a relationship with God prior to the Bible, but when I wanted to get to know the Bible, I remember saying to God, I want to know you, not religion. I want to figure out who you are. I'm not here to fit into the church. I don't care about that. I want to know you, and if it leads to me knowing the church, fine. But being part of a clique is not is not why I'm here. I'm not here for a clique. I'm not here for a group. I'm not here for a gang or whatever it is, or community. I'm here to know who you are, and from there we'll see where it goes. You know, and I maintain that ever since. You know, that belief ever since. So yeah, I'm not red team or blue team. I'm not whatever religion out there. I'm like, nah, that none of that matters. There's too much human manipulation going on there. You know, there's too much ego in that. I'm not interested in that. I'm just interested in what does Scripture have to say. You know, how can I understand this and navigate this and things like that. And I'm not saying that I have all the answers or know all the answers, but as far as your question goes, that's how I've come to understand that aspect of it. So
how long do you think it took you to kind of like feel that
to go
Because it
from
probably
one
took
way
some
to
time,
another.
right? Probably
Absolutely.
like you were thinking things throughout.
So
Wait a
the
minute.
old way that I believed until I can really grasp the new way that I believe, that easily took 4 years. Easily.
So electoral term.
What's that? Yeah, yeah, easily. Maybe a little bit longer, but I mean, you're stripping a lot of things that you were taught, that you've been telling others, that you've been teaching all these years, that you were so certain about. It changes, and then if you start believing things differently, it strips you from the community that you're part of, and it's like there's a lot of uncertainty in that. And if you're the kind of person and this religion teaches you, if you question anything to where you feel like you're losing your faith, it could feel scary. And I have nobody to go to. I don't know nobody to ask questions to. So I had to navigate that on my own. And even if I did, I don't even know if I would have believed them. I would have had to see it in the scripture over and over, hear this, that, what about this, what about that, what about blah, 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 blah. And so the fact that I went on that journey myself and I had to plug in all those, what about this, what about that, throughout all the scripture, that's what helped solidify my understanding of scripture, my new understanding of scripture, my new understanding of Christ. But it's crazy, man, because even though I haven't been involved in the church like that, I can't tell you how many times I still have these conversations with people that am just meeting, random people, people that I've known for a little while, because this all ties together, as far as thinking and just the things about life and the things about God and all that stuff. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, not necessarily black and white. I kind of used to think it was black and white, but I always
And
had
that's how you're
questions.
taught. That's how
Yeah.
you're taught,
Yeah.
that it's black and white,
So, still so much question. Sometimes my kids ask me questions,
Yeah.
and I got to break it down to how I know it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes we just look it up or pray with it about it, kind of thing. So
Yeah. And there's some things you just don't have answers to,
it's true. That's true.
And you got to make peace with that.
Was there like a point, I guess, when you decided kind of done and moving on, or was it like, because then obviously it was a build up. It wasn't an overnight thing.
No.
Do you feel like it was like I know I'm gonna be leaving at this time?
Yeah, I remember when I was attending the service, and these things were already floating in my mind, these new beliefs. And I remember, and I was still going to the front praying for people. And that never
How long?
stopped.
Yeah. How long though were you feel like you knew I'm gonna be exiting? I just don't know. I know it's coming.
I
beforehand.
probably felt it for like 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't let time go very long when I'm
Okay.
feeling like that,
Yeah,
But I was convinced that I had to leave when now everybody that was going, that needed prayer, was there because of the message, because it made them feel so guilty. And after a while, I was like, you know what? All I'm doing is praying for people to get rid of their guilt. Just ain't
Till next
even.
week.
And these are people that come to church regularly. What is this?
Yeah.
What is this? Like, and I remember, because I knew how they felt. I remember saying, you're free from this guilt. I didn't know what the heck they were praying about. I wasn't listening. I didn't ask them. It's just, but I felt it, I felt it.
Yeah.
And it was familiar. And they'd be crying and crying and crying hard as soon as I said that.
Yeah.
And there was just a pattern. There was just a
Yeah.
pattern. I'm like, you know
Cycle
what?
kind of
Yep.
thing, yeah.
These people are all here to get rid of their guilt, or because they were pushed into guilt, or whatever the message was, just making them feel guilty. And it's like, that's how much time are you wasting? Just you're not even moving the kingdom forward.
Right.
As if you're dwelling on guilt.
Yeah. Can't get past that.
Yeah, like, and after a while, you see that as manipulation. There's a time to feel bad about stuff. But man, like, when you're wasting months or years like that, and you're not even that bad of a person, like, then it's the message.
Oh yeah.
It's the message.
And the same one.
Yes,
The
and the
same
same.
one.
Like, come
We
on.
got to
There's,
move on from that. There's got to be some growth. So,
and not only that, if you're just addressing the behavior, you're not addressing the source, which is the thinking. You know, if you take care of the thinking, then you can take care of the behavior. But it's like, it's just, in my view, it's just backwards. It's not. It's counterproductive to the kingdom. You know.
it is.
And so in my head, I was like, it's only a matter of time until people start leaving this place. Because when you catch on to the control, to the manipulation, to the constant guilt, to the constant shame, to the constant condemnation, anybody is eventually going to say, I'm tired of this relationship.
I feel beat down. I'm out of here.
That's right.
Yeah.
Why even try if I'm never good enough? And that's the emotion that is conveyed over time, that they feel over time. And that's sad. That's sad because they associate that with God, you
Yeah.
know. That is the saddest part.
That's true. And some people don't grow out of that, or take some time.
Absolutely.
reform that.
Some people never grow
It's
out
true.
of that, unfortunately.
True, because sometimes it's a young age, and they're like, that's what they think. That's their vision,
Yeah.
like you said, of God. They associate that with God.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's
And I've had a lot of conversations. I still talk to people about spiritual things, spiritual matters, whatever, God matters, whatever you want to call it. And they all, so it's just people are people, and there's patterns, you know, and they all kind of say the same thing. Well, I used to go to church, but then you got to be this and you got to be that and da 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 da. And I'm like, well, how's your relationship with God? It's good, and you can hear the hesitation because they're thinking of all the things that they're not doing right or whatever that they're so focused on, you know. And I give them the same spill sometimes. I'm like, well, what if you stop focusing on yourself and focus on God? How different would your life be? You know, how much more at peace would you be? You know what I'm saying? And it's stuff that they never heard of, you know. But it's like,
sounds too good to be true, kind of thing, right?
yeah, and that's what it should be.
Exactly.
That's what it should be.
Why should you have to do all the work when you can't even accomplish all the work?
Yeah.
Now you're never gonna be able to do it.
You know, I've been at places where a few people have scolded me, you know.
Like from your past.
No,
Or just
for
in
my
general?
present, right?
Oh, okay.
They'll be like, "Well, who are you?" They're like, "You're a bad Christian," and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, "I'm okay with it. Go ahead." and then I'll be like, "Okay, so why do you say that, even though you don't know me very well?" Well, because this, that, and the other, you know. And I'm okay. So I said, "Okay, so what should I do?" Well, you should do this. Okay, and then what? Am I good? No, then you got to do this. And then what? Am I good? Then you got to do this. And then what? Am I good? And it keeps going. And then they're finally at a place to where I'm doing everything that they want me to do, even things that they're not doing. Because I'm like, are you doing this? No. I'm like, okay. All righty.
Yeah.
And they'll finally get, what I'm trying to do is get them to the end.
Right.
Right? Let's speed
What's
this
your
up.
list?
Let's
Yeah.
get to the end.
Yeah.
I said, now what? I don't know. I said, well, come on. Now what? I've done all these things. Am I good enough now? You pray and you hope, you know.
Wow.
like,
After
what?
all that, you still
What?
got a prayer and a hope, huh?
I'm like, so if I'm so focused on myself,
When
when
do
am
I
I
have time?
when am
Yeah.
I focusing on God? And that's when the light bulb goes off for them. Because they don't see that. They don't
Yeah.
realize that, you
Yeah.
know.
It's not really taught.
And absolutely, it's not. And because I've lived in both worlds, that's I understand the cheat code. You know, let's just get there in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
We're gonna cut through all the bullshit because
Yeah.
that's what it is.
Yep.
And you're gonna see real quick the holes in your theology and your beliefs, or at least what you've been taught. You know. And when they get to that place, they're like, I don't know. What do you think? And then I explain my position, you know, my views, which only takes about 5 minutes. So then, and they like what they hear. So then what am I supposed to do? Because that's what we're used to thinking.
Yeah. What do I have to do?
And I'm like, just build a relationship with God. But I think that's where people kind of get a little freaked out, because then it's like, well, then how? I can't see that. I see if I'm doing good things and then I feel good. That I could feel. But like, I'm like, your feelings are lying to you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Wow.
In that aspect, they're lying to you, you know, because what you're feeling is you're feeling self-righteous.
Yep.
You're not feeling
Because
God.
you're doing good enough.
That's
You
right.
feel like you're doing good enough.
That's right. You're
Yeah.
patting yourself on the back saying, I'm now a good person. What the heck is a good person? I mean, everybody has a different definition.
Yeah.
You know?
right.
So I'm poking holes in all of their belief system. And so when it comes down to it, it's like building your relationship with God. Well, what does that mean? And it's funny because people know how to look good, but they don't know something as simple as building a relationship with God. And it's like, if you had that, it's like building a relationship with anybody else. It takes time. People don't want to be patient, though. They want that immediate.
Yeah.
I want to feel good
I want to
fast.
see it now.
I want that certainty fast. And if I do good now, that gives me that quick certainty. But if you build on a relationship, that requires you to have faith in this thing you don't see, which is God. You can have faith in your works because you can see that.
And you can feel it.
That's right. But can you have faith in something you don't see and you may not necessarily feel because you're used to doing good and then feeling good?
Right.
So that seems to be the challenge for most, you know, in coming out of this. You know what I'm saying?
You think they know that? Like leadership and people that are in leadership? You
I
think they
think for the
know
most
and are
part, no.
battling it? Okay, you think they're just kind of...
I do think that they do have these questions.
Okay.
The questions that I had,
Yeah.
I don't doubt they have these questions.
Yeah.
Because if I was that guy and I still felt that way, look, you could have a big church. Okay? They ain't nothing like bringing people to church, though. They ain't nothing like that. Anytime I'd preach or teach, me personally, it felt way better to bring people than to preach or teach.
I can see that. Totally.
That was like the work of God right there.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, that's like
See it.
grassroots.
Yeah, you see it with eyes.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, easy to talk, if you will, or whatever. But you're right.
That's like, that's the bedrock
fruit.
of the faith.
Yeah.
That is the bedrock.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I'm saying? You don't get more foundation than that.
Yeah.
You don't.
Yep. More
You
tangible.
do not. You know what I'm saying? And to me, the close second is discipleship. Preaching is a far off. Teaching is a far off. In public settings, in stage settings. To me, that's a distant.
Yeah.
Those two things, like, they're right there. You know what I'm saying?
Because really, without that, you're really just going to a
It's just
rah-rah conference.
That's right. Absolutely.
And really, there was not a lot. You did most of that. A lot of that came from you. And then during that time, like discipleship, train, whatever.
I mean, the
you know.
majority. Yeah, you're right. You're
Yeah,
right.
I don't remember. I don't remember a lot of that going on, and
Yeah.
it was missed, like you said, not covered. I guess. It's crazy how you saw that though, or at least were, I guess, focused on. What made you do that? What made you?
Because I read the Gospels over and over.
And you felt like, oh, that's what I need to do because it says it
Because you see it. You see, like, if you see the life of Jesus, you see it's not about ego. You see it's not about the position. You see it's not about, listen to what I'm telling you, this, that, and the other kind of thing. I'm going to make you feel bad.
Yeah.
You don't see that. The only people that Jesus made feel bad were the self-righteous religious people. The self-righteous religious leaders on top of that. Those are the only people that Jesus spoke ugly to. Because he was trying to get them to see their self-righteousness. Like, see your sin? Do you see your sin?
Right.
Everyone else, he wasn't talking to like that. He spoke to them where they were at.
That's true.
So Jesus was always customizing how he spoke to people. You know, he wasn't just throwing everybody
good way
gets
to
this
say it.
grenade message, you know.
Yep.
It wasn't like that.
Tailoring it.
Yeah, that's right. It was tailored. And I'm sure that's how sales is.
100%.
Absolutely.
100%.
I don't doubt it. And so because I studied the Gospels for an entire year outside of all the other times that I was reading the Gospels or whatever. But I dedicated an entire year to just those four
Gospels.
books. And I would go through it, and I take my time. I go through it again and take my time. And every time I'm seeing something different. And after a while, I start to see these patterns. And you're always going to see patterns. It's with people and with Scripture. And the pattern was God was only mean to the self-righteous leaders who were rejecting him anyway. They were too good to be saved. They were too good for correction. But yet everyone else who was in need, who wanted help, who wanted a savior, who was in a position to cry out to God, he met them. And none of them felt not good enough to be in the presence of Christ. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Welcomed, accepted.
That's right. That's gray. That's
true.
all gray.
That's true.
That is all gray because you're meeting these people at different places where they're at. That is all gray. That ain't black
That's
and
true.
white. That is absolute
true.
gray. Some of these people, that they might be, what's it called when you mismanage money? Stealing money or whatever, embezzling.
Yeah, embezzling.
Some of them are embezzlers. Some of them are prostitutes. So these people are doing
Thieves,
different
name it,
things. Whatever it is, they're all doing. They're all committing different sins in our eyes, But that didn't matter to Jesus. That didn't matter to Jesus, and so it was interesting when I saw how accepted they felt around Christ. To me, that was an aha moment. Okay. If these quote unquote sinners can feel accepted by Christ, then I need to make people feel accepted by me. Because that is Christ.
That's true.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And anytime people get around self-righteous preachers, they don't feel accepted. They feel like they have to change their talk, they change their this, change their that. And I always told people, be whoever you are around me. I mean, even during the church time, I was like, don't call me pastor. Because people see you differently, people treat you differently and all that stuff. And I don't want that. No, you see me like anybody else, And so for me, it was very much taking the Jesus approach. You know what I'm saying? Because every other approach didn't matter. I mean, how can you go wrong with following this guy? You know what I'm saying? I mean, geez, it's all built on him.
Yep.
So, and that's when I noticed the biggest difference between all these other preachers. And I'm sure I wasn't the only one, but myself, because I never felt like I was one of those preachers. I never felt accepted. Never felt like I was one of them. Because their approach was more along the lines of, I'm in leadership, you do what I say. My approach was, I'm here to serve you. Those are very different approaches.
It is huge. And you can see and feel that too.
Absolutely. And so when these people tell you, I like what you got to say, and I like how you talk with me, and I like how you deal with me, but then I hear the church message, this, that, and the other, and I don't feel good enough here. And you hear that over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. It's like they feel accepted by Christ, but they feel rejected by the church. That's what they're saying.
Wow.
And if the church is running the show, then Christ has to take a back seat. And
I mean, at the end of the
that's
day, they kind of
backwards.
are. Because it's like a business. I mean, there's money that comes in. It's kind of, the kind of thing, So there is some business aspect to it and intertwined, I guess. So it almost is like that in a way, right?
Well,
Are you saying?
yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm saying without saying it. Yeah, yeah.
You thinking it doesn't have to be like that or what? I guess because I don't know any other way. I never really thought about that in any other way.
That was my issue when I was doing the church, was that I don't
It
like
felt
how.
like that.
Yes,
Oh,
I don't
okay.
like how it has to feel like this.
Oh,
That was
okay.
my issue. I
Which
don't.
part? Just a lot of parts, or particular parts? Or I mean,
Um,
enough to.
mainly that I think. Mainly like just how I didn't like capitalism involved in the church. That idea in the church.
Hmm.
Because if you have to run church like a business in America to be quote unquote successful, then to me that's a contradiction in my eyes. Because you don't see that in the New Testament. You don't see that. You, you don't see that.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't find a way around that. If I saw
Mm-hmm.
it, then I'd be on board.
Mm-hmm.
But that conflicts with my my understanding of scripture.
Mm.
So I have a hard time, you know, like if capitalism wasn't a thing or whatever, there'd be churches started all over the place. By me at least.
Mm.
That'd be easy. That'd be pop pop.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, good lord. I'm very biblical in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Very much so. But when you get capitalism involved, that's when I get turned off. I get really turned off because now it requires a different kind of thinking in this spiritual matter.
Mm-hmm.
And
And strictly
I
the
don't
money.
know
Strictly the money.
because you have to push money. You have to push money. You have to push money. Because if you don't push money, then you don't have like this successful church in America. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't become successful, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And when you're in an environment like America and the way people see success is the size of the church, the more and more, the more the money.
Really, dude.
It's gonna be hard to it can happen over time, but it's gonna take a long time to see for people to see church differently than that.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
now you have to run against that too on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
Not only are you bringing a different message,
Mm-hmm.
now you're bringing a different way to run church.
Hmm.
Those are hard things to
That
run
is
up
hard.
against. Extremely difficult things, you know.
Hmm.
And so I was like, man, I don't like this taste in my mouth with having to do it like this. I just and then as soon as you get a building involved, you have to be financially focused.
Mm-hmm.
And
How are we gonna pay the bills?
that's right. How
Yeah.
it's gonna suck all
Yeah.
the passion out of it now.
Because now there's a part to where, like you said, there is a drive to, okay, we need funds. We got to keep the air on. We got to keep the, if not, we're closed. And then how do we do ministry? You know?
Yeah.
So there is an element to that. So,
Yep. So I honestly don't doubt I'm gonna get back into church leadership sometime.
Mhm.
I don't doubt that.
you go to church
I don't
now?
know if I'll do it here in America.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know if I'll do that because my idea ain't gonna work here. And because this is a different kind of environment, you know. But it'll work in other parts of the country, but I mean world, but not here.
Wow.
Now maybe if the country changes over time, maybe then you know, or maybe by then I'll have a different idea or whatever of some way to. Because I see myself more as a, not necessarily somebody that'll stay somewhere, but somebody that can build something up and then move on and build something. That's how I see myself.
Okay. Oh.
Because discipleship is natural and easy for me, and I love doing it. And I love raising leaders. I love doing that. But I have a hard time being in the. I'm not a good manager. I'm a good builder. I don't enjoy managing. So it's hard for me to want to manage. You know, understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But I can build and I can build and I can create and I can grow and I can do that. I can do that. I love that part. But as far as I'm not managing is not my thing. You know what I'm saying?
I get it. Yeah.
Some people are strong at that. Fantastic. They could do that, but that's not my strength.
Right. I get it.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't, if I enjoyed it, then I try to strengthen that. I don't enjoy it though. I don't enjoy it. You know, that's just all that it is. I don't enjoy it. So I don't doubt that I'll eventually get back into it sometime. But I don't that as far as that goes, I don't know how to do partial. I'm all in or I'm not. I don't
Oh,
know.
for church sector,
Yes.
I could see that.
I don't know how to be part-time with that thing.
Yeah.
I don't. Because I get too engulfed in it, and
Yeah.
then I have my own ideas and my
Yeah.
own way of,
I mean,
I get very creative with it and things like that, and I just want to experiment and whatever else, and kind of, I kind of like to see what's going to happen if I try something different, try something. I mean, that to me, that's fun.
yeah.
That's really fun to me, and I'm not afraid to take risks like that. So,
Yeah, I could see that.
so yeah.
Wow. So right now, you currently probably don't attend a church, I guess. You just
I
do
was, and I was even signing up for church leadership, but then they had all these requirements, and I was like,
The ones you were
if I'm gonna
talking
be
about?
telling the truth,
Yeah.
I can't.
Oh,
live
you
up to
mean like,
these.
will you do this? Do you do that? Will you abide by that? That kind
Yeah,
of thing?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and it's
get
like,
it.
well,
Yeah, you're like, hey, I'm honest, so I guess I can.
yeah, and
Participate in that if
yeah,
you're
and somebody,
requiring that.
so, and I told somebody like after the fact, they're like, well, thanks for being a person of integrity, at least, you didn't.
Oh, answering correctly?
Yeah, like being
Oh,
honest about it,
well, yeah. I mean, yeah. Again, like it goes back to being sincere,
Yeah,
genuine. We don't back when we're kids. You don't really think about that because again, being yourself is scary. You don't know what yourself is or what you're becoming or whatever.
yeah,
So I'm at the point. I've been actually at the point for a long time. I just really don't. I really don't care what people think. I kind of do, but I like that 51% doesn't. So it overrides it. And the 49%, I really don't care. I do, but I don't. I got my own stuff. I care about what certain people do think about, like my family kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
yeah,
My immediate family stuff. So that's more concerning to me. But I mean, it's hard to being authentic again. Just
yeah,
people want to see that. People can feel that. When we're talking about the politics, when people see too much of, hey, I don't see a flaw there. That's not real. That's not right. That's a movie or whatever.
yeah,
Let me see some humanity to that, So anyway,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I'm part of a church right now, but there's things that you don't always agree with 100% unless you're creating that church kind of thing. I like it from the aspect of me keeping. I don't do it for my spiritual growth. I get that on my own kind of thing. I do it for my kids for some sort of system that they know they went to church to develop some kind of thing
Yeah.
to get them some God time, that kind of thing
Yeah.
at their level, if you will, whatever, that kind of
Sure.
thing. So that way it's not we never went, and then we do our devotionals and stuff at night or whatever. But I do want them to get some kind of teaching, that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, and it's a chore to go look for a church, man.
It is.
It's a chore, and when
It
you got a
is.
family, it's even much more of a hauling everybody around, throwing them in,
Because it also takes time to figure out, okay,
Yeah.
you could find a spot that you enjoy that one Sunday,
Sure.
but
What are they really about?
over
How is it
time,
really
though,
like? Yeah.
yeah,
That takes time.
it
Takes time.
does. It does. Yeah.
So I've been fortunate to go connect with a church that, we like, and we've met. I developed a lot of relationships there and all that kind of good stuff, and been a part of men's groups and all that. But there's always more that I want that I can't get from there, So I
Yeah.
can get it my own or whatever.
Yeah.
So, but it kind of helps me to keep discipline because there's times where I'm not disciplined and I should be spending more time or building with God, and I'm just not because I let life get in the way or whatever.
Yeah.
So we can all be guilty of that. But what about you? How do you keep your disciplines up? I'm curious about that. Do you look at it like that? Do you look at it a different way? Is it because people look at that as a negative thing, but I look at it as there's times where I don't want to do things in life, but I do it. It's a discipline. There's every day I don't want to take my kid to school or whatever
Yeah.
it is, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know. I don't look at right now. I could say I don't look at my walk with God with having strict disciplines. I'm kind of at a place right now to where, I mean, I'm talking to God all the time,
yeah,
you
for
know.
sure.
But also if God gives me like a certain direction, I'm just gonna do it. I ain't even gonna ask. I'm just gonna do it. And that's kind of, I guess, where I'm at. If I'm reading something in the Bible or whatever, I'll see how that applies to my life, and even if it doesn't apply, I'll see how it can help me communicate something to somebody else who it might apply to, things along that, or see what I could learn about God or about people through that part of Scripture. Um, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Okay.
So it's not like, before I used to be very, very, very strict
Yeah.
with myself,
Sure, like schedules and stuff.
regiment,
Or whatever.
and very like disciplined, and if I wasn't, I'd beat myself up.
Yeah. Mm.
You
All
know,
or nothing, huh?
all or nothing.
Yeah.
If I didn't pray for 2 hours and it was an hour and a half,
Mm-hmm.
I'd beat myself up.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Things like that. Like if I wanted to fast for 5 days but only did 4, I'd beat myself up.
Oh wow.
It's like
Okay.
I was like really like
Yeah.
so. I don't beat myself up.
Yeah.
I don't feel condemned.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I don't remember the last time I felt condemned or guilt or shame. I really don't. If I feel like I'm going the wrong direction, I'll adjust.
Mm-hmm.
That's simple.
Self-awareness kind of thing.
Yeah.
No, I should. Yeah.
Things like that, things like that. I don't know. It's
Just
just
maintain the relationship.
I'm
though.
I'm
I mean,
still at peace. You know what
yeah.
I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I'm still at
I'm
peace.
saying.
And anytime I feel like I'm not at peace, then I make a correction.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Because
saying?
that's when you're probably off track.
That's right.
I've been like that where I'm like, I'm not. Something's up. I need more of God or something. I'm not. Maybe I've been lacking in this. And sure enough, I'll think back. When's the last time I did this, or how deep did I get into that, or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, sometimes we'll feel it when we're off track.
And if anything, I'm feeling more challenged by God more than anything else.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like for me personally, I'm feeling more challenged by God. Like he's almost like he's calling me out.
Mm-hmm.
Challenge me. Get yourself in a situation to where you have to see me, like that.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. That's,
And you got to put yourself in some spots.
yeah,
to,
for sure.
to see, and sometimes, my faith is wavering every now and then, you know what I'm saying? Which is normal and part of being human, So yeah, there are, but lately that's where I feel like God is calling me to challenge him by challenging myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
And so, I mean, honestly, even doing this podcast is part of a challenge, to be honest with you. Because I know a lot of these spiritual things are going to come out over time, whether they come out, on the first whatever or not. But I know over time they are going to come out. And on top of that, I know different people are going to hear these things where maybe they haven't heard them before, maybe they need to hear it, or maybe they've been asking these questions, So I know it's going to serve people in that aspect as well.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Questions, yeah.
And it may take a minute to take off or whatever, as anything else does. But I do feel like this isn't all of it, but this is part of that challenge. Is to just because when you're on a podcast weekly, you kind of have to not care what people think.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because it's coming anyway. The
Yeah.
opinions, so
It's gonna come, and especially a lot of things that I say. Like I've been pretty vulnerable thus far with a lot of things that I say about myself or about my life or whatever. And so, and I got to remember that whatever it is I'm saying, I'm not saying it for approval or for acceptance or even anything like that.
yeah.
More than anything, I just want to be the best version of myself, be authentic to myself. And I feel like if I can be authentic with who I am, then that'll translate over time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
And so even that is a challenge because it's not in private, it's in public. And that's okay because I'm putting myself out there like that.
Right.
But it is something that you have to get used to.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely something that you have to get used to, on a public scale. So, but it's been, but yeah, if anything else, I feel more called out by God now than more ever before.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And you're in different seasons, We're in different
Yeah.
seasons of our lives, things that we have in our lives, whether it's challenges or situations that we may have had 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever it is. So that's also another thing. You're in a season where, whether it's you or me or anybody, that we may have not been in, and God's challenging us.
Yeah.
Hey, I showed up then. You haven't been in this season. Watch how I show up here, challenging us.
And to me, that's just another aspect of the relationship.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
That's all
true.
that is. because the first 5 years, that was one aspect of my relationship with God. The other five was another. I'm not being literal as far as
Yeah,
5 years, but there's been different phases
Levels.
of my spiritual journey to where I've seen different sides of God. Very different sides of God, and this is just another one of those sides that I'm seeing. Right now. So it's I'm still at peace. That's all I can say. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
good. That's you're right. I
Yeah.
mean, that's the best. That's the best way I could describe it. Whenever you have peace about something, typically after prayer, but
And sometimes I'm like, why do I have peace right now? I'm questioning that myself. I'm like, man,
is it gonna be that okay? I guess it is.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's
But it
like,
says it. It says it in the scripture, right?
that's right. It's
Right after that,
that
you're gonna have the
simple.
peace, and you're not gonna understand this peace you're gonna get.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Yep.
So something to that
And
extent.
peace has got to be the most rarest commodity out there
Yeah.
on earth.
Not easily obtained.
I mean, guys, what most people are chasing.
Yeah.
If they're chasing drugs, if they're chasing, sometimes they're chasing money. They just want peace.
Yeah.
Maybe they think all these vices are going to give them peace. You know what I'm saying?
Sometimes they get there and they're like, "Oh, I'm there," and it's not exactly what I thought it was.
I mean, the other day I met somebody who was like, I was chasing money because growing up, I associated, well, if I had money, then I wouldn't be in this situation. So he associated money with being at peace. Then he made a lot of money, and he had learned, I'm still not at peace. So that's when he was like, money does not equal peace.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? It was like, dang, like, wow. And I don't come at money like that. I don't,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it was interesting to hear his perspective on that. And I was like, wow, like, that's interesting. That's really interesting. So even he was like, yeah, everybody's after peace. We all just want peace in our life. Sometimes it's why we're after love, because we just, if I'm just love, then I can be at peace.
That's true. It's a peace is a commodity, a hot one. So
Yeah.
everybody's after it. So
Yep. And they don't sell it at the stores.
no,
They
you gotta
do
find
not.
it. Yeah,
You'll find love before you find peace, or at least
a version of it.
a version of it.
What do
For
you
the
think?
night at least, or something.
Exactly. Oh, man.
Yeah, but
Yeah. Keep chasing it, people. Peace. It's there. It's out there.
it is out there. It is out
Amen.
there. Anyway, anything else you want to touch on before we wrap it up?
No, I don't think so. Well, you can, maybe there'll be part 2 or something. So,
Man, sure there will be.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I want to thank you for being on the pod.
yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Support Bill.
That's right.
He's tremendous, guys. We didn't even go into all the stuff. I didn't get to go into all the stuff how I feel about him, but he's special to me. Seriously, he's like my brother. So he spent a lot of time with me, and I really appreciate him. So,
Yes, sir. Yes,
thank
sir.
you. Yeah.
This is the Bill Martinez Show. I forgot to mention that at the beginning, but whatever. I want to thank you guys for watching the episode. Hopefully you learned something about one of us, both of us, whatever. Hopefully you gained something. And don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, share, whatever I'm supposed to say about that. But thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next episode. See you guys.